Thank you, Mr. President. While arguments rage over policy and experience, I rise today to speak about another passionate debate gripping the nation. Laphroaig, the richest of single malt whiskeys. I will read into the record thousands of Americans' opinions, good, bad, and confused. Is Laphroaig a peaty, smoky delight, or does it smell like a burning hospital? And yes, I intend to speak for an extended period of time. Let's get started. Here we go. Our first comment comes from Jeremy in Plainview, New York, who says, "This is a most opinionated, polarizing scotch." Yes, we will see that that is true. I don't know if the scotch itself is opinionated, but I take your point, Jeremy. Next up, either you love it or you hate it. There is no in-between, says Robert in Las Vegas, Nevada. Well, we'll see about that, Robert. Soft, sweet, easy on the palate, said no one ever, said Carrie in Granville, Ohio. She's suggesting that no one has ever described this as soft, sweet, and easy on the palate. She may be right. But who knows? With all these pages, maybe somebody has said that. We'll find out. You wouldn't think that terms like medicine and astringent would be good descriptors for a drink. You'd be wrong. So says JB in Royal Palm Beach, Florida. I did not know that there was a Royal Palm Beach. I'd like to visit that sometime. Astringent medicine. Drink up. All right. Who knew that a brine-soaked Band-Aid, spit roasted over a well-stoked charcoal fire, could be so delicious? Asks Joel in Fayetteville, Arkansas. This is a guy who has obviously soaked a Band-Aid in brine at some point. He's got some idea what that's like. All right, good for you, Joel. James in Reno, Nevada wrote to say, "If dirty sweat socks are your thing, you'll love Laphroaig." It's not for everyone, he adds. It's not for everyone. Not everyone would say that dirty sweat socks are their thing. I'm not sure they're my thing, to be honest with you. All right, here we go. That was page 1. Quite a few more pages. Like mother's milk if your mom is from Hades, said Scott in Darien, Connecticut. Hot milk. Delicious. In a dockside pub, a grizzly fisherman lights his worn pipe, the sea foam in his beard, in his belly only fire. That was sent to us from John in Omaha, Nebraska. That might be a haiku. I don't have the time or the inclination to count the syllables, but it might be a haiku. It ends like one, only fire. Fragmentary thought. Here's another one from Ryan in Lansing, Michigan. It's like a seaweed birthday cake with phenol frosting and motor oil candles. And I want more, he adds. I'll have a second helping of that seaweed birthday cake, says Ryan. Good for you, Ryan. Sean in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and this, by the way, is S-H-A-W-N. I will keep track of the spelling of all the Seans, because I think it's important. Sean says, my friend says diesel fuel leaking from a submarine. I say, what's wrong with that? I can think of a few things that are wrong with diesel fuel leaking from a submarine. For one thing, the submarine's going to run out of fuel. For another thing, it's a bit of an ecological disaster. But I take your point, Sean. You like the flavor. Got it. Kind of alarming that licking seaweed from an ashtray full of peat could taste like heaven, says James in St. Louis, Missouri. That is alarming. Oh, Laphroaig, how I don't love thee. You taste as if I licked an ashtray. 3 exclamation points, and then for emphasis, yes, an ashtray. Ryan in Plano, Texas. Those are 2 people in a row who referenced ashtrays. Interesting. Gabriel in Royston, Georgia says, all the subtlety of, I'll start again. All the subtlety of a dumpster fire, but, you know, ... in the best way possible. Okay. Dumpster fires, yeah, they're not going to be subtle. All right, here we go. David Ludlow in Kentucky says, horrible, dirty Band-Aid. Our second reference to a Band-Aid. Horrible, dirty Band-Aid on fire, mixed with cow pie, soaked in iodine, left in a 1900s hospital basement, left to rot, and served to you. Very descriptive. Cow pie, for those of you who don't know, refers to cow poop. That's what that is. Iodine is a chemical in 1900s hospital basement. I like the specificity. Not the first floor of the hospital, right there in the basement. All right, here we go. The distilled essence of a burning hospital, says John in Castle Rock, Colorado. The distilled essence of a burning hospital. I don't know why these people are so eager to imagine a hospital on fire. All right, here we go. Here's another reference to hospital. Get job as hospital janitor. Starting again. Get job as hospital janitor. Throw away mop, lick clean with tongue. Bad idea. That comes from Elias in Medway, Massachusetts. And that's not advice. That's not life advice, I don't think, right? He's just saying that's what this beverage tastes like. Okay, here we go. Mark in McPherson, Kansas says, yuck, 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 yuck. 10 yucks. 10 yucks from Mark in McPherson, Kansas. On a scale of how many yucks? We don't know. It could be 10 yucks and a scale of 1,000 yucks, which would not be a lot of the yucks. Or maybe it's 10 out of 10. My friend says it tastes like dirt. Yes, I say, but it's good dirt. Dale in Afton, Minnesota contributed that. Dirt aficionado, Dale. It tastes like some genius distilled primordial ooze. Kaylee, New York, New York. I don't know what that means. I don't know what primordial ooze means. I've heard those words. I don't know what they mean. All right. Zachary in Los Angeles, California says, fish eggs and seaweed left in the sun for days and days. There's something rotten in there. That's Zachary, paraphrasing Shakespeare liberally. They burned a piece of ham for 80 years and then dumped it into the ocean. There's a fly buzzing around me. I'm not going to get distracted. Don't get distracted. Keep your eyes on me, not the fly. Starting over. They burned a piece of ham. Oh, the fly is distracting. I'm not going to let that fly bother me. They burned a piece of ham. Damn it. Here we go, back to that burning ham. Sorry, just a second. Here we go. This is my left hand. It'd be better with my right. Damn it! They burned a piece of ham for 80 years and then dumped it into the ocean. When they pulled it out, it was covered in kelp, and they got this. Chef, this person's name is Chef, in Greensboro, North Carolina, envisioning an 80-year ham fire. Terrible. Jeremy in Birmingham, Alabama, burned in memory, molded kilt distilled in fish oil and seawater, set on fire, being hit in the face with a shovel, being hit in the face with a hot shovel, and loving it. I'm going to read that one again. Burned in memory, ... Molded kilt distilled in fish oil and seawater, set on fire, period. Being hit in the face with a hot shovel and loving it. So, there's a lot to unpack here. He says burned in memory. Does that mean that some of this has happened to him and he's remembering it? Unclear. And then there's this business about the molded kilt being set on fire. That's a separate thought from being hit in the face with a hot shovel and loving it. Those are two different things? Jeremy, I have a lot of questions for you in Birmingham, Alabama. Answer them at your leisure. Either that or I really gave him something to think about. And he's not coming near me again. Here we go. OMG. A little bit of popular slang there. OMG. What in the question mark? Absolutely disgusting. Who would ever, I mean only a ... stinky and smoky. Yes, I'll have another. Paul in Lake Havasu City, Arizona, walking us through his thought process, which leads us to having another. Interesting. Very good. I wasn't sure. It wasn't sure about me at first either, says Gary in St. Paul, Minnesota. I like that. It wasn't sure about me first either. He's giving, some sentience to Laphroaig. The whiskey wasn't sure about him either. All right, my father-in-law is an electrical engineer. When I poured us a dram, he commented that he smelled burning electronics. No, that's the scotch. That was contributed by Gavin in Phoenix, Arizona. Yes, indeed. I do like my scotch to smell like our house is on fire, says Aaron, location unknown. Undisclosed. Yeah, probably the smell of your house burning is the best part about your house burning. If you think about it that way. Sweet Mary, that's awful. Now pour me another, says Anna in Cary, North Carolina. A soul in conflict. It's awful, and I'll have more. I can't stand the stuff, but it makes my husband happy, says Emily in Mosier, Oregon. Really giving us an example of the bedrock of a good marriage. Like opinions, Laphroaig has a strong aroma and can lead to heated discussions. Unlike opinions, Laphroaig is always correct. Oh, I like that sentiment from John in Murphy, Texas. Okay, Paul in Sammamish, Washington. Sammamish, Washington, a town I've never heard of. Laphroaig is not distilled for the masses, but for the discriminating few that can appreciate a single malt that is as subtle as a 10-pound sledge. Hammer? He doesn't say. 10-pound sledge. Is there such a thing as a sledge? I've only heard sledges in reference to hammers. Maybe it works differently in Sammamish. Quick, hide the Laphroaig. The villagers are coming with torches, says Lee in Tip City, Ohio, making Laphroaig sound like a monster. Tastes like sin run amok with a face full of dirt, but in a good way. Chris in Belvedere, California says, yeah, if sin is run amok, we're not going to really comment on whether its face is dirty. The story of Moby Dick within the glass walls of an Islay Scotch. The story of Moby Dick within the glass walls of an Islay Scotch. That's great. Corey in Austin, Texas said that. That's a long story, Moby Dick. That's almost as long as this giant book of comments. That's a lot to put in a bottle. When you can't decide what flavor you want, this covers them all, says Josh in San Luis Obispo, California. Everything from Band-Aid to burning hospital, from what we've learned so far. Oh, I like this one. Beware o' bottles in which peat has filtered smoke, for thar be still be dragons. What? Beware o' bottles in which peat has filtered smoke, for thar be still be dragons. Dave in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Oh, here we go. Smoky iodine medicinal. Lots of references to iodine. Smoky iodine medicinal. Too much for anyone. Andrew, Laguna Hills in California. Deciding for all of us that it's too much? I don't know, Andrew. I like my Laphroaig 10 like I like my men. Oh boy. Smoky and full-bodied with an understated sweetness. Actually, never mind. Just hand me the bottle, says Vanita, who also declined to tell us where she lives. I'm not surprised, given that she's just dismissed all men. That's a controversial position, Vanita. Whether it's a wee dram or two-finger pour, with the first taste you've left where are to go somewhere where want to be. Cliff, Seattle, Washington says that. I want to read it again. Whether it's a wee dram or two-finger pour, with the first taste you've left where are to go somewhere where want to be. Thar be still be dragons. It's like licking a cherished old book, says Michael in Owings, Maryland, a man who should be kept out of the public library. The most sublime cough syrup ever. It'll make your eyeballs roll. David in Fort Collins, Colorado. I should specify, by the way, that Laphroaig Scotch will not help your cough. It's not designed to do that. William in Los Alamos, New Mexico says, smells like lighter fluid, tastes like gasoline. Wonderful. Brad in El Centro, California tells us, the salt of an angry sea, the smoke of ancient fires, the very soul of Robert Burns. How did they learn to put all that in a bottle? That's my favorite one so far. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to tear out this page. And I'm going to put this one, tear out 2 pages. I tore out. I'm going to put this one to the side, and this is the one to beat. I'm going to read it again. The salt of an angry sea, the smoke of ancient fires, the very soul of Robert Burns. How did they learn to put all that in a bottle? Brad in El Centro, California. That's my favorite one so far. Okay. Here's some others. To the nose, a brisk whiff of smoky peat, succeeded by a brilliant share of salt and vanilla. Daniel, East Haddam, Connecticut. Interesting use of succeeded. Rich, powerful peat smoke, oaky, complex, subtle sweetness, delicious. David, Stamford, Connecticut. Not a lot of references to sweetness. I appreciate them when I read them. Daniel in Sherman Oaks, California says, it's like licking brine off of a newly tarred road during a forest fire. How'd the brine get on the road? He doesn't say. Sherman Oaks, California, which, by the way, is experiencing an epic drought, and so that's why forest fires are on Daniel's mind, no doubt. And in High Spire, Pennsylvania, I'll bet you they've got a High Spire in that town, I'll bet you anything. Quicksilver with golden edges and the banked down radiant warmth of peat. Banked down. Never heard of that turn of phrase before. Bank it down. Bank down that radiant warmth of peat. Bank it. Nature unfiltered. Pure human bliss, neatly delivered in a handsome bottle, especially for my enjoyment. That's the first kind word we've heard about the bottle. That's good. It is a nice bottle, a handsome bottle. All right, setting aside my favorite here. Let's see if we can beat it. Oh, that was Tim in Seven Fields, Pennsylvania, who told us that about the bottle. 7 fields. Guess how many fields they have? 5. Isn't that interesting? Laphroaig lore is like a long, drawn-out, smoky, and spicy smack in the face that you never want to end, says Brett. Envisioning an endless smack in the face. Ouch. Honey, ... Did you just open that bottle of Laphroaig, or is the house on fire? Parentheses, she smells smoke in the other room. Ah, the best. It's like a little play. Did you just open that bottle? Or is there, so there's a question. Is it Laphroaig or is it a burning house? She smells smoke in the other room, which I think implies it is the house is on fire. And then, ah, the best. He was hoping it was the house on fire? Charles, Browns Valley, California, presenting that little play for our enjoyment. Here we go. Joseph in Washington, Maryland says, I love scotch. It makes my tummy happy. Keeping it simple, Joseph. Greg in Raleigh, North Carolina. Give your nose something intriguing to chew on. John in Cleveland, Ohio. Tears of an angel mixed with dragon fire burned peat. What's making those angels cry, John? Like maple bacon. Ooh. Rolled in pine, kissed by tar fire. Julian in Orlando, Florida. Thank you for maple bacon. I like those words together. Anna in New Orleans, Louisiana says, Sweet Molly smoldering in her liquid ember. What? Sweet Molly smoldering in her liquid ember. Who's Molly? We don't know. Okay. Smells like shoe leather and iodine. Goes down with a warmth that floods your soul. John in Oakland, California. All right, John. Shoe leather and iodine. Okay, good. Here we go. Another page. Like nuzzling an ashy strawberry, dipped in barbecue sauce between puffs on a chocolate cigar. Is that a real thing? Chocolate cigar? That sounds great. Ethan, bringing us the concept of chocolate cigars. He also doesn't tell us where he's from. He doesn't want anybody else to get a hold of those chocolate cigars of his, that's why. Ethan, I'd like to know where you're from. I'm going to come there and I'm going to have some chocolate cigars. Okay, Douglas in Boston, Massachusetts. Says, a cigar for your liver and a song for your soul. I think my liver says no thank you to a cigar. Douglas, a cigar for your liver. All right. Leroy in Honolulu, Hawaii. Reminiscent of diesel spilled in a bonfire with just a hint of smoldering moss. In other words, perfect. Great, thanks, Leroy. Better than the salt of the earth is the peat of Isla. Nice. Matt in San Diego. Matt spells his name with only one T, which is his prerogative. San Diego, California. Kevin in Lansing, Michigan. No, sorry, Kevin in Lansing, Kansas. About to get some letters. All good things come in threes. Wise men, musketeers, and now the best Laphroaig, triple wood. Also celebrity deaths. Those also come in threes. John in Chicago, Illinois says, you are going to need some gum. Possibly an excerpt from the shopping list, more than a comment on this beverage, but maybe it's that too. Okay. Like barbecue in a bottle, says Jim in Lakewood, Colorado. Maybe he might have accidentally taken a swig of some barbecue sauce, because that's really like barbecue in a bottle. But so is Laphroaig, in Jim's opinion. Here we go. The most divine chimney fire you've ever tasted. Eric in Florence, Massachusetts, a fire eater. Well, this one starts out pretty good. Buckle up. You lay naked in warm Isla peat as Mother Nature caresses your face. All right, we're moving right along here. We're doing well. Oh, that was Doug in Carborough, North Carolina, who told me I lay naked. Peat, smoke, infused ocean mist from the prows of homebound clipper ships plying the caramel sea and laden with spices of Zanzibar. Aaron, Seattle, Washington. I got a new favorite. That's my new favorite. Let's hear it again. Peat, smoke, infused ocean mist from the prows of homebound clipper ships plying the caramel sea and laden with spices of Zanzibar. Oh yeah, that's my new favorite. Okay. Peat, smoke, time. A mouthful of Isla. That was from Mitchell in Denver, Colorado. Rebecca. Destination unknown. She doesn't tell us where she lives. Laphroaig lore is like inhaling the smoke off a burnt marshmallow beside a campfire surrounded by friends. Nice. Chocolate cigar would go well with that. My very first sip deepened my brow, made my mind right. Smooth and smoky, I extol the delight. Oh, this rhymes. Car alarm. You hearing that? Can't do anything about it. Let's just enjoy it for a while. Oh, it ended. Okay, good. All right. Starting that one again. My very first sip deepened my brow, made my mind right. Smooth and smoky, I extol the delight. Hats off to you. I'm no more devoid. And a wonderful whiskey labeled Laphroaig. My very first sip deepened my brow, made my mind right. Smooth and smoky, I extol the delight. Rhymes. Hats off to you, I'm no more devoid. A wonderful whiskey labeled Laphroaig. Close. That's John, Valparaiso, Indiana. Thanks, John. My ex-wife didn't love Laphroaig. Enough said. Oof. Gordon, Denver, Colorado. JB in Port Angeles, Washington says, for Pete's sake, and he's spelling it P-E-A-T, so that's fun. For Pete's sake, why argue? If it's Laphroaig, it's not a matter of the dram you pick. It's just the day and time of day you pick it. Isla day today. Okay. I don't understand all of that, but I like the Pete's sake part. Mill, this is a person whose name is Mill, living in Naples, Florida. Heaven sent to the nose, it's angelic to the palate, it's glorious. All right, Mill. I'm with you. Here we go. Nicholas in Salem, Massachusetts says, perfect balance of smoke with the smoothest finish. Dollar for dollar, finest whiskey in the world. Yeah, this is the first person to reference how much it costs. Dollar for dollar, bringing money into it. Budget-conscious person. Okay. Deborah in Clayton, North Carolina. Smoky campfire. Lover's arms. Night. Watching forever. More. The promise. The memory of the passion of the peat. Oh, this is a steamy one. Smoky campfire. Lover's arms. Night. Watching forevermore. The promise. The memory of the passion of the peat. Deborah in Clayton, North Carolina. Getting steamy in here. Ashtray, my wife says. Barbecue, I say. Eating smoked food is in our genes. So why not drink it too? Pure Heaven, Ted, Jacksonville, Florida. And it's genes, G-E-N-E-S. He's not saying that eating smoked food is in our pants. He's suggesting it's genetic. Is it? I don't know. Forgot the cologne on my wedding day. Used this instead, says Dustin in Houston, Texas. Brimstone. Who knew hell on earth would taste so good? That's Michael in Lodi, California. Laphroaig lore is like being tumbled by a crashing wave as a rush of salt water flies up your nose and wanting to do it all again, says Jake. A lot of people are expressing this kind of sentiment. An unpleasant experience that I want to have again. Interesting. Sunset separates day from night. Laphroaig separates weekend from week, says Mark in Armonk, New York. What does that mean? Drink it on Sunday night? Take time to get to know your friends, and you'll be amazed at what you'll discover about them. Whiskey is no different. Michael, Navarre, Florida. That's a nice sentiment, Michael. Take some time to get to know Laphroaig, and it might become a friend. An abandoned fire pit by the sea with my own true love. Deborah, Washington State. Why was it abandoned? That blissful feeling you get when you inhale charcoal, peat, and salty sea, says Donna in Sumter, South Carolina. Charcoal, peat, and salty sea. By the way, almost every time I'm saying peat, it's P-E-A-T. I will specify if at any time I say peat, the name P-E-T-E. Every other time it's P-E-A-T. Okay. Far more mature and well-rounded than any 18-year-old human, but certainly just as lively, says Ben in Oregon City, Oregon. Probably the capital of Oregon. It's like shoving a handful of the bogs in your mouth. Surprisingly good as you savor the essence of Scotland, says Richard in Duluth, Georgia. I didn't know we had more than one Duluth in this country. Good for us. Shoving a handful of the bogs. Handful of the bogs. Not for the faint of heart, advises Robert in Jeanette, Pennsylvania. Faint of heart, do not apply. Litter the remnants of Isla's medicine cabinets into its peat bogs. Cover in seaweed, set it ablaze. Only then do you capture the essence of Laphroaig, says Nick in DeLand, Florida. And by the way, that is not how they make Laphroaig. It's just not. I've watched online, and it's not. Nobody's emptying medicine cabinets. I understand you're saying that's what it feels like. Just to be clear, that's not how they make it. The dark strength broods, smooth, sensuous. Sea salt rubs sweetly, warm. Closed eyes to a peaty heaven. Gary in Santa Ana, California. That's beautiful. That may also be another haiku. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and count syllables, even though I have more than enough time to do that and anything else. This is history put in wood, preserved in glass, waiting, resting, immortal, says Terry in Jersey City, New Jersey. Lovely sentiment from New Jersey, of all places. It's like a campfire and seaweed got married and had a baby. Oh, Dave in Flushing, New York. You know what they had to do to have a baby? Campfire and seaweed, hard to picture. A lot of thoughts about seaweed, a lot of people. I won't lie, it's a bit like drinking a bog, but in the best possible way. Lee in Portland, Oregon, thank you for your honesty. Thank you for not lying. So far, Lee in Portland, Oregon has never lied to me. Warm, caressing, woodsy kiss by the fire in the Highlands, 1743. What? Lori, Baltimore, Ohio. Where does 1743 come from? Warm, caressing, woodsy kiss by the fire in the Highlands, 1743. All right. Somewhere between drinking a campfire made by angels and drowning pleasantly in a medicine cabinet. Greg in Apex, North Carolina. Drinking a campfire made by angels and drowning pleasantly in a medicine cabinet. All right. Somewhere between those two things is Apex, North Carolina. Today I shall enjoy the peat, for soon enough I'll be forever in the peat. Robert in Boston, Massachusetts. I like that. That's a little bit of a YOLO sentiment. It's a sensuous massage for your soul in a dark room illuminated only by one smoky candle. Sensuous massage. But for the soul. Calm down. Joe in Andover, Kansas said that. Hey, here's another Joe in Ithaca, New York. I spent some time there as a young man myself. Enjoy yourself down there in the Commons, Joe. When I kiss my wife after sipping Laphroaig, this is awfully personal. Should I finish this? When I kiss my wife after sipping Laphroaig, she often says, "Have you been smoking?" Oh, Joe. Have you been, though? Ithaca, New York, beautiful city. Some might even say it's gorgeous. A message in a bottle, a 10-year-old promise of revelry and cheer, waiting to be fulfilled. Gregory in Brooklyn, New York. That's cool. Bottle of whiskey is like a message in a bottle, isn't it? Good. I tasted the 8th year last month, and I've become a better man for it, says Nick in Las Vegas, Nevada. Oh, I'll have to take your word for it. We don't know what kind of man you were before or what kind you are now. Well, this one is from Vincent in Colts Neck, New Jersey, named after the neck of a horse. The aroma enthralls you and draws you in. Flavor intoxicates and holds your attention. The finish keeps you coming back. Good review, Vincent. What kind of nectar is this? Is this the gods' opiate? I believe it is, says Carl in Seattle, Washington, asking and then answering his own question. Charles in Carlsbad, California. Oh, horns going on outside. Charles in Carlsbad, California says, for those who knows, N-O-S-E, a mighty lad he is. For those who sip, we get a peaty kiss. For those who drink, we get Isla bliss. Ah, okay, breaking it down. Do you nose, sip, or drink? Any which way, Charles knows what's coming. Joe in Kingsley, Michigan says, pearl green sea laps her bare skin with the essence of time. Deck tar of lost ships and peat pyres of 1,000 Viking warriors. Where was my favorite one? I had a new favorite. Peak smoke, and yeah, this is it here. I think this is still raining. This one didn't beat it, but I'll read it again. Pearl green sea laps her bare skin with the essence of time. Deck tar of lost ships and peat pyres of 1,000 Viking warriors. That's a lot of Viking warriors, Joe, Kingsley, Michigan. Jonathan in Chicago, Illinois says, a smoky, beautiful kick to the face. I've never experienced a beautiful kick to the face. I have experienced a kick to the face. I'll tell you that story some other time. Kathleen in Burlington, Vermont says, savor earth and fire. Good advice. Mark in Hudson, Massachusetts, never have I tasted such a pleasant ash bin. I like it. I like it. I like that construction. Here's a big word, a Herculean, beard-growing, plaid-wearing, axe-wielding, burly Scottish lumberjack with a slight grin. That is how Alicia in Studio City, California describes Laphroaig, Scottish lumberjack. Larry in Casper, Wyoming says, an explosion of smoky complexity lingering on the palate as the memory of a religious experience. Wow. An explosion of smoky complexity. Okay. James in Chicago, Illinois says, my first taste, I think I just consumed the liquefied cremated remains of Popeye the Sailor Man. No wonder Olive loved him so. She can appreciate why Olive loved him so by tasting his cremated remains. All right, James. Raymond in Lancaster, Pennsylvania said, time passes slowly. Burning earth, iodine waters, the toils of labor, golden dew, sea breath, casks resting and waiting, sublime embers. You have a painterly way with words, Raymond. I like that. We should start keeping track of how many times we get the word iodine. I'm going to go start a little tick sheet. How many times have people said iodine? Up to now, let's just go ahead and say it's been 5. We'll add to it as we go. All right. Perfectly brilliant, immensely superb. Brace yourself. The peat is coming, says Aaron in Chicago, Illinois. Quite a few people chiming in from Chicago. Perfectly brilliant. Brace yourself. I'm braced. All right. Drink a library. It tastes like fermented books, says Sun in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Drink a library? Good luck. That sounds hard. Smooth over the tongue. Peat soothing to the senses. A burst of sunlight that warms you from within like the touch of an old friend, says Christine in Winnebago, Illinois. The touch of an old friend. Huge flavors in smaller casks that must be from when the horse dropped them into the burning vat of iodine. Got another iodine. Huge flavors in smaller casks. Must be from when the horse dropped them into the burning vat of iodine. That was Raymond in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, talking about that horse. Gary in St. Paul, Minnesota says, from invitation to trepidation to determination to experimentation to mystification to appreciation to revelation. Garyation in St. Paul, Minnesota. I pour a wee dram, maybe more, and get a whiff of that unmistakable aroma. Close my eyes and imagine I am back on the old sod. Fred, Greensboro, North Carolina. The old sod. That's a nice turn of phrase. Megan in Houston, Texas says, yesterday I went for a stroll on the rocks, but today I'm keeping it neat for Pete's sake. Ha ha! I get it. She didn't really go for a stroll on the rocks. What she's saying is that she had her Laphroaig on the rocks, meaning with ice. Now that we understand that. Yesterday I went for a stroll on the rocks, drank her Laphroaig on the, with ice, but today I'm keeping it neat for Pete's sake. And again, that's P-E-A-T. P-E-A-T sake. Drinking a liquid campfire. Oh, this is another drinking of a campfire. Interesting. Drinking a liquid campfire after mucking horse stalls all day. Okay, Stephanie in Ohio drinks fire and mucks horse stalls. Patricia in Hillsborough, New Jersey. Beautiful Hillsborough. The sea dancing, peat, dark and dense. Caramel laced, a briny bit of heaven. A briny bit of heaven. Namor! N-A-E. Namor! Laphroaig is my death row whiskey, says Ashleen in Tucson, Arizona. Like the collected works of Ernest Hemingway, marinated in Novocaine, barbecued during the fall of Rome, says John in Castle Rock, Colorado. Barbecued during the fall of Rome. I don't understand. Like the collected works of Ernest Hemingway, marinated in Novocaine, barbecued during the fall of Rome. How are you going to barbecue the collected works of Ernest Hemingway during the fall of Rome? You can't do it. You can't do it. But anyway, thanks, John. Okay. Stefan in York, Maine says, if you want to learn history, read a book. If you want to taste history, pour a dram of Laphroaig. I like that. That's great. Okay. A full-bodied roundhouse kick to the face of flavor, says Scott in Dublin, Ohio. Named after Dublin, Ireland. A full-bodied roundhouse kick to the face of flavor. A lot of people getting kicked in the face. Okay, tastes like it was made by a sailor on the high seas with bacon and some peat, says Kat in San Francisco, California. Bacon. I'm really getting hungry for bacon. Not maple bacon here, but I like, all right, here we go. A dram good whiskey. I like that. That's Rachel in New Haven, Connecticut. Instead of a damn good whiskey, a dram. I think you got it. Like a bracing swim on a moonlit night in Cape Cod Bay in a month with an R in it, says Regina in New York, New York. So January, February, March, April, not May. You know, one of those R months. All right. Like whiskey made from God's tears, tears of joy, says Jacob in College Station, Texas. Like being in love, triple wood is sweet and smooth, but will kick your ass. And you can't get enough, says Megan or Megan in Dallas, Texas. Good job, Petey, P-E-A-T-Y. Good job, Petey. Now, go get Gramps. Alan in Fort Collins, Colorado. Is that a reference to something? Good job, Petey. Now, go get Gramps. Okay. Smooth, silky, and saturated with summer smoke. Steve in Seattle, Washington. Isn't that interesting? Is smoke different in summertime? Why wouldn't it be? The taste of your campfire smoke as the sun goes down and the chill comes up. Patrick in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Yeah. So, yeah, taste of campfire smoke. Yeah. Okay, here's John in Swartz Creek, Michigan. Swartz Creek. Where do I live? Swartz Creek. I would move. If I had to say, just for how difficult it is to say the name, I'd leave. Swartz Creek. Hard on the mouth. The smoke draws you in and warms you like a campfire on a spring night with your best friend. Now, this is a spring fire. Earlier, we spoke of a summer fire. With your best friend, that's nice. All right. Martin in Los Angeles, California. The house is on fire. No, wait. My mistake. Just the smooth, liquid smoke of my cask-strength Laphroaig. He says. Bunch of H's there. I don't know, is it literally true that people are drinking this and suddenly going into a panic that the house is on fire? I don't know. It all starts with sweet whispers, then with the fire of a redhead's love. The peat sweeps you away gloriously, says Jean in Seattle, Washington. Oh, redhead ladies out there, go meet Gene. I think he'd appreciate you. A Texas campfire at sundown, says Jerry in Dallas, Texas, so he knows a few things about a Texas campfire. Take his word for it. Battles rage in heaven over the angels' share. Eric, Stevens Point, Wisconsin. It's my guilty, peaty pleasure, says David in Pasadena, California. Don't be guilty, David. Enjoy it. Josh in Dayton, Ohio says unprecedented, unpronounceable. Laphroaig. Or if you prefer, Laphroaig, 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 Laphroaig. That felt genuine. Leather, lace, lava, love, says Angela in St. Louis Park, Minnesota, whose dictionary is open to the L's. Like a salty old friend from the sea, greeting you with a chocolate-covered smoked fillet, drowning in a peaty golden glass of goodness. Fillet of what? Like a salty old friend from the sea. From the sea? Greeting you with a chocolate-covered smoked fillet. Oh, I want to know of what? Do I like it or not? Drowning in a peaty golden glass of goodness. Eric in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Chocolate-covered fillet of cod? No. All right. Actually, no. You couldn't put a fillet in chocolate, right? No. Doesn't matter what it is. Peat refined. Enough said, says John in New Bern, North Carolina. Enough said. Half my age, but just as mature. We are just as smooth, just as daring. Still so cool. Warm or cold, own it. Tell it. Be it. Laphroaig, says Lori in Box Springs, Georgia. Box Springs, Georgia. Is that where they make the box springs for the beds? You're the one that brought me into the fold, into her warm, smoky arms. What is that? An accusation? You're the one that brought me into the fold, into her warm... Am I reading it wrong? You're the one that brought me into the fold, into her warm, smoky arms. No, I didn't. That's Lewis in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Rafferty in Santa Cruz, California says, a taste of strong Scottish company that can follow you anywhere in the world. By the way, that will happen with a Scot. Once, they'll follow you. Scots will follow you anywhere in the world if you give them half a chance. Takes you to a dark place you won't want to come back from, says John in Ewing, New Jersey. Dark place. Like a kick in the stomach, not the face, like a kick in the stomach and a pull of the hair. This musky old beast will tame those who dare, says Ben in Chicago, Illinois. Ouch! Getting kicked in the stomach and getting his hair pulled. All right. This is simply from Bob. You might get hungry for barbecue after you take a good whiff. You might. Clayton in Batesville, Arkansas says, Laphroaig is the distilled essence of a cookout with notes of opulent elegance. Isn't that interesting? A cookout, an opulent, elegant cookout. It smells like the inside of my granddad's car. In a good way, says Anthony in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I knew it was a good way. You didn't have to say that. Granddad's car always smells good. A rich, complex balance of overly smoky perfection, says Joshua in Pomfret Center, Connecticut. Pomfret Center. Complex and mysterious, it is a sublime kiss, whispering from ancient fields. Heaven in a bottle. A whispering kiss. That was Shane in Midvale, Utah. Marion in Columbia, South Carolina says, my first taste was like coming home. Isn't that interesting? Curly in Seattle, Washington says, the smoky belch of a vegetarian, bog-dwelling dragon. The smoky belch of a vegetarian, bog-dwelling dragon. Why specify that the dragon is a vegetarian? I do not know. Okay, Joseph in Irvine, California says, a friendly slug in the taste buds by a rag used to clean a peat bog on the rocks. Can't use a rag to clean a peat bog. What would be the point? You're only going to get a peat bog so clean. That was Joseph in Irvine, California. It's the liquid equivalent of sitting around a campfire on a cool, misty beach. Yeah, says Aaron in West Lynn, Oregon. Nothing beats it for the sense of place. S-C-E-N-T-S. Mark, Valencia, California. Nothing beats it for the sense of place. a waft of musty straw, a taste of a dirty sweat sock. This is the second time someone has referred to a dirty sweat sock, not a sweaty sweat sock. It's a given that the sock is going to be sweaty. It's also dirty. A waft of musty straw, the taste of a dirty sweat sock. Yes, I'll have another, says Robert in Woodbridge, Virginia. I want to introduce him to the other guy that spoke about dirty sweat socks. They would get along. Close your eyes and dream of Scotland, says Venice in Brisbane, California. All right, Venice. Good advice. I enjoyed that dream of Scotland. A blend of St. Nicholas's fireplace sweepings and Poseidon's tears. St. Nicholas. One of the lesser used names for Santa Claus. I almost forgot about that one. A blend of St. Nicholas's fireplace sweepings and Poseidon's tears, says Sriracha in Chicago, Illinois, a person named after a hot sauce. That's great. Laphroaig, if you don't know, you never will, says Nathaniel in Dunkerton, Iowa. Laphroaig, if you don't know, you never will. Well, go try it. I'm going to check in again with my favorite. Peat smoke-infused ocean mist from the prows of homebound clipper ships plying the Caramel Sea and laden with spices of Zanzibar. Oh boy, that's going to be hard to beat. All right, I already read that. If Nessie and Bigfoot bottled olives, they would taste like Laphroaig. That's John in Castle Rock, Colorado. John, we've heard from you before. I remember. If Nessie and Bigfoot bottled olives, they would taste like Laphroaig. And that would be amazing. Would that be amazing? See the two of them out there bottling olives together? Hard to picture. Bob in Long Island, New York says, perfect mix of peat and smoothness. My go-to scotch, when smoothness just isn't enough. Sounds like a lot of scotches are smooth. They're not all peaty. It tastes like eating a bag of charcoal. What could be better? Says Robert in Waterloo, Iowa. That's another one in the general subgenre of I'm describing something unpleasant and then telling you that I love it. Something to note. Interesting. Ah, the fly is back. Ah! The fly is back. The Lord God, fire and wrath, burning sinners to ash, baptizing them in the loch, then washed into ambrosia, says J.T. in Dallas, Texas. If heaven burned down, raindrops would taste like Laphroaig. Brian in Overland Park, Kansas. Fascinating. How would heaven burn down? Who left the toaster on, Abe Lincoln? Unlike any scotch, very bold flavor, says Jeff in Lusby, Maryland. Unlike any scotch, very bold flavor. Angela in Hutchinson, Minnesota. Delicious, divine, distinctive, delightful, daring, delectable. Angela's dictionary is open to the D's. What's that called? Alliteration. Like drinking a poisoned campfire? John in San Diego, California. First of all, it's a campfire you can drink, and then somebody poisoned it! John. All right, Jason in Henrietta, Oklahoma. What did you think? You have two logs. Oh, we're back in the second person. You have two logs, one for the fire and one to sit on. Okay. Let it burn a bit. Which one? Then remove it and extinguish it with whiskey. That's Laphroaig. You have two logs, one for the fire and one to sit on. Let it burn a bit. Okay, the one for the fire. Then remove it and extinguish it with whiskey. That's Laphroaig. The log you're sitting on doesn't really play into it. That's Jason in Henrietta, Oklahoma. Wade in Willoughby, Ohio says, like drinking a glass of silky smooth smoke. Yummy. Me. Bo in Nashville, Tennessee. Hear the waves crashing, smell the salt in the air, taste the smoke. That's Laphroaig. I'm still thinking about that fly. Hear the waves crashing, smell the salt in the air, taste the smoke. A lot of smoke tasting. Okay, here we go. A firm, formal handshake given by the green glass lake. Starts with a sip, ends with a song, echoing to all peaty palates. Come along. We're going to read that again because I'm realizing now it rhymes. This could be our first truly rhyming one. A firm, formal handshake given by the green glass lake. Starts with a sip, ends with a song. Echoing to all peaty palates, come along. Okay. That was Joseph in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Mark in Clearwater, Florida says, says, kiss of a dark, dank cave icicle hanging off a mineral-laden, mossy-covered ceiling. Cave icicle. Ava in Oxford, Connecticut says, smoky, yummy goodness, all in one glass. It's got the smoke and the yum, all in there. Paul in Sparta, New Jersey, beautiful Sparta, like tasting the gun smoke of a forgotten battlefield where freedom has been won. Exciting. Out there in New Jersey, you know, there are some Revolutionary War battlefields where freedom has been won. So Paul might know a thing or two about that. Slow and steady is the way. Take the time to enjoy the day. A quarter century in your hand. A lifetime on your tongue. James, Bear Lake, Michigan. A lifetime on your tongue. That's nice. Okay, Rick, San Diego, California. What did you think? First, a splash into baccarat. The nose, the taste, transcendence. What does that mean? First, a splash into baccarat. Isn't baccarat like a game? Is it a board game? Or it's like a casino game? So I don't know what you mean, Rick. But I don't need to, as long as you do. William in College Park, Maryland says, like a glass of peat-smoked rubber bands, balanced with sea-sprayed vanilla caramels, and that's a good thing. Yeah, does sound good. Here's Joe in Andover, Kansas. It's like letting your taste buds drive a classic sports car with leather seats and oak trim. I would never let my taste buds do that. They haven't earned it. That was Joe in Andover, Kansas. I don't always drink scotch, but when I do, it's never Laphroaig. Susie in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Susie, that's not how I thought that was going to end. That's funny. All right. Harland in Northbrook, Illinois. Picture yourself in a pub by the sea and a warm fire of peat at your side. Now take a sip and let the warmth slide down your gullet and slowly smile. You had me until gullet. I don't like that word, but that was a good one. That's a good one. Oh, I can't bump my other favorite for that one because of the presence of the word gullet, which is kind of a gross word. I don't like that word. Here's Katie in Stowe, Ohio. It's as if the sound of nails on a chalkboard joined in harmony with all of the angels in heaven and Kurt Cobain. Interesting to invoke the name of Kurt Cobain in this discussion. Well, that's an interesting one, Katie. All right. I met you in the airport. This is the beginning of a romance novel. I met you in the airport and brought you home. The missus still won't approve, says Lewis in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I guess he's saying he bought a bottle of that at like the duty-free shop at the airport. I met you in the airport and brought you home. The missus still won't approve. Still won't approve? There's a backstory here that we're not being brought in on. That was Lewis in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It tastes like a moldy rock that you licked straight from the fireplace, says Evan in Baltimore, Maryland. Moldy rock in the fireplace, all right. The briny arm of the deep, back for revenge. Oh, that's James in Bellevue, Washington. The briny arm of the deep, back for revenge. Oh, scary, right? Like a monster. Here comes Mark. We don't know where he's from. Smoky and intense with a blend of peat and campfire smoke. Bang. Perfect. Neat. Simple. Got it. Either you want to drink that or you don't. Thanks, Mark. Like a slow roasted brisket, smoked with a Scottish version of a Louisiana bayou. Huh? One taste is enough to be hooked for life. Mike in Houston, Texas. A Scottish version of a Louisiana bayou. That's interesting. Slow roasted brisket. All right. A bonfire made from driftwood wrapped in seaweed. Liquefied, distilled, bottled, enjoyed. Bonfire made from driftwood wrapped in seaweed. So many people comparing this to seaweed. And that was Dan in Plymouth, Massachusetts, where they presumably have some seaweed. I'm going to take a sip of water. How long have we been at this now? Oh, an hour. We've been doing this a solid hour. Ha-ha, great. That flew by. That first hour flew by. That's enough, right? We could all agree. 1 hour of reading comments aloud, that's enough. Here I go, reading more. A lot more. Joe in Greensboro, North Carolina, says, like drinking a dram of liquid, tasty peat. It is, yeah, like drinking a dram of liquid. That's not even a metaphor, that's what it is. Had my first 20, oh, did I say that was Joe in Greensboro, North Carolina? Had my first 20 years ago and keep a bottle atop my cabinet, says Albert in Flat Rock, North Carolina. Right there on top of the cabinet. Go over to Albert's house. Look for the bottle. Where is it? Top of the cabinet. Here's Matthew in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. My tongue is beginning to not work great. An hour in. Matthew, Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. Tougher than a $2 steak, says Matthew. That's a cheap steak. Don't complain about it. Joe in Seattle, Washington. I think we've heard from you before, Joe, or a Joe in Seattle, Washington. He says, blow up my skirt. Sharp, tasty, and rich. Blow up my skirt. All right, Joe. Challenge accepted. Favorite memories of childhood come of campfires, family, and friends. PX brings them all to now. Huh? Favorite memories of childhood come of campfires, family, and friends. PX brings them all to now. PX brings them all to now. Joshua in Gainesville, Florida. Well, thank you, PX. The flavor is not only the strongest of all the Scottish whiskies, but the strongest statement of how a whiskey should taste, feel, and warm the drinker, says Benjamin in New York, New York. He took this job seriously. The flavor is not just the strongest of all Scottish whiskies, but the strongest statement of how a whiskey should taste, feel, and warm the drinker. Benjamin. Good one, Benjamin. I'm going to say it's my new favorite. That's my new favorite. It's simple, it's direct, it's convincing. All right, Benjamin. True taste of peat. Smell the smoke. Unique Isla taste. Real peat heat, says Edward in Wilmington, Delaware. Good. Like sitting in the mist on a cool beach next to a campfire with the love of your life. Yep, that's it, says Scott in Orlando, Florida. Scott, a lot of people agree with you. We've heard that sort of sentiment from a few people. Campfire, misty beach, someone you love with you. Which is my favorite? I'm going to circle my favorite. Yep, here we go. Benjamin in New York. That's my new favorite. Third favorite. It's getting warm. Unique ocean breeze. Stormy night. Fantastic length. I want one now. Bold, brooding campfire. Fantastic length. That's from Cedric in Erie, Colorado. John from Castle Rock, Colorado again. He's got a lot to say. My only comparable experience was witnessing a piano bonfire. John, we got to know all about that. A piano bonfire? That's fascinating. A whole bunch of pianos thrown together in a bonfire? I'd love to see that. I hate the piano. Alan in Cerritos, California says, complexity of taste that brings the history of the soil and mesmerizing flavor. The history of the soil. Yeah, you can taste that history. John in Chicago, Illinois. That name seems familiar. It tastes like burning plastic. A struggle between good and evil. Yeah. Burning plastic. That's not a compliment. Okay. Joel in Westford, Massachusetts says, tastes like Scotland. Also not a compliment. No, I'm kidding. Scotland tastes delicious, I can tell you. I've been there. Tastes like Scotland, feels like home, straight from the barrel. Great. Wade in Fort Worth, Texas says, you should probably be drinking this right now. I like that. It's probably, not definitely. Ilya, Medford, Massachusetts says, way better than I deserve. Ilya, that's terrible. You deserve Laphroaig. You do. What a sweet moment between me and Ilya, although there's a good chance I'm mispronouncing her name. Ilya? Like God put out a fire on a tiny, muddy earth and made that into whiskey for all his blessed children, says Anthony in Dallas, Texas. Put out a fire on a tiny, muddy earth. Is that our earth? Or a different earth? Robert in Fort Worth, Texas says, strange name, strange taste. Perfect. He likes it strange. Derek in Ulster Park, New York says, unrivaled, no apologies, taste freedom. Yeah, no apologies. Laphroaig is not apologizing for being unrivaled. Taste that freedom. Dane in Lakewood, Ohio says, starting again. The campfire of yesteryear meets the tradition of tomorrow. Oh, interesting. Spanning the eons. Todd in Patterson, New York. Tastes like something went horribly wrong and then immediately right again. Perfection. Yeah, they let it go horribly wrong and then they think they righted it. This is Gretchen in Carlisle, Kentucky, who says, one of the best whiskeys ever. Mysterious, flavorful, full of life. Truly amazing. Ooh, what's the mystery? Hey, wait a minute, this is my hometown. No joke. Mark in Ridgewood, New Jersey. This whiskey has more smoke than a 1980s Kiss concert. Used to be you could smoke at a concert. He's probably talking about the Brendan Byrne Arena out there in East Rutherford, New Jersey. If he's from Ridgewood, I guarantee you that's because that's where Kiss would have played in the 80s. Great. Hi, Mark. Go Maroons. That was the name of our sports teams. I don't know why. Not your father's Isla whiskey, but seriously, my father could not handle the intense peat, says Dustin in Houston, Texas. That's a real slam on your dad, Dustin. I'm not going to get between you guys, but I think you should work it out because that's a real harsh slam on your dad. Here's Charles in Hoboken, New Jersey, beautiful town. Rocket fuel for Satan's chariot. Oh, Satan's chariot. Tillman in Mobile, Alabama says, it's like eating oysters. The more you drink, the better it gets. Not my experience of oysters. Bringing the water of life to life. Bringing the water o' life. It's o' life. Bringing the water of life to life, says Tom in Columbus, Ohio. Nico in Wrightstown, New Jersey. Lots of Jersey here. Lots of Jersey. People drink whiskey in Jersey. Whiskey that was filtered through campfire ashes, then spritzed with orange bitters and a touch of anise, A-N-I-S-E. Surprisingly delicious. Surprisingly delicious. Filtered through campfire ashes. Again, that's not how they make it for real, but I get it. I get that that's what you're saying. All right. Raquel in Northport, Florida says, salty and bold, like a sweet wave that lulls you on a summer day and then rolls you down the sea depths and spits you onto a beautiful beach. So the wave lulled you and then rolled you down the sea depths and then spits you onto a beautiful beach. So it's a real journey here. I'm having a nice time with this wave. Now the wave is trying to drown me. And then it spits me, which ain't great to be spit, but onto a beautiful beach. Real journey there, Raquel. Oh, here comes one of our favorite words. Mark in Chicago, Illinois says, iodine tinged. That's another iodine. We're up to 7. Iodine tinged mist from the moors. Oaky, peaty, hand-warmed, mossy truth within. Put your glass to your ear and mouth. Hear and taste the ocean. That's cool. Put the glass to your ear and you can hear the ocean, huh? That's a candidate for new favorite. No. Sorry, Mark. Shane in Seattle, Washington says, tastes like freedom. This is not the first person to suggest that it tastes like freedom. Very smooth and easy to drink. That's freedom. That's what freedom tastes like. Smooth and easy to drink. Okay, Shane. Whew. I wonder what bondage tastes like. Maybe we'll find out. This is Larry in Metawa, Illinois. Enjoy an Isla moment alone with your thoughts to peat up your spirits. Peat up your spirits. Okay. Ryan in Honolulu, Hawaii. Smoky perfection. From one island to another, one person to another, we lift a dram to life. Great. I'm one of those guys, sometimes I'll lick my fingers when I turn a page. Reminds me of the summer of '78 on Cape Cod and seaweed, says David in Chicago, Illinois. Reminds me of the summer of '78 on Cape Cod and seaweed, both of those things. Who can forget the summer of '78 on Cape Cod? That was a summer. That was David in Chicago, Illinois. Joshua in Detroit, Michigan says, tastes like the residue of a burned down iodine factory. But how I love her so. The residue of a burned down iodine factory. All right. Joanna says, a symphony of different flavors, ginger, oak, molasses, played upon my palate. Very playful. Mike in Portland, Oregon says, kissing my wife. Again, this is very personal. Should we be hearing this, Mike? Kissing my wife, she tasted of smoldering hearthstone. Okay. because she had had some? Is that what this is? Or is drinking it like kissing your wife? Who cares? Thanks, Mike. It's like drinking a farm, says Peter in Weehawken, New Jersey. It's like drinking a farm. Greatness never smelled so pungent, says Trey Thomas in Tacoma, Washington. Stewart in Maryville, Tennessee tells us, my dog drove a coal-burning steam farm tractor over my meerschaum pipe in the rain through my garden. Did that really happen, Stewart? My dog drove a coal-burning steam farm tractor. Steam farm tractor? Are there steam farms? Are people farming steam? Has it gotten that bad? Drove a coal-burning steam farm tractor over my meerschaum pipe. I don't know what that is, but it's got to be a thing. In the rain through my garden. Wow. That's gonna, you know what? That's my new favorite because it's so crazy. Okay, here's Christy in North Little Rock, Arkansas. Smells like medicine, but tastes like heaven. My husband won't kiss me after I've had it. Every drop worth it. Yum. That's sad. Come on, Christy's husband. That's sad. All right. Thomas in Glen Ridge, New Jersey. Beautiful town. The smoky bacon of booze. That's a partial thought, isn't it? There had to be more, Thomas. But anyway, I've got a new favorite. So long, Benjamin in New York. You're not my favorite anymore. That's the theme song for favorite comments. How far into? Because I'm starting to lose my mind. It's 3. Oh, what? Has it only been 10 minutes since I said we've been doing this for an hour? I really thought we'd been at it for a whole nother hour. Is that right? Oh, brother. Wow. That doesn't bode well. That first hour went so fast, and then the next 10 minutes took another hour. Okay. It's what the primordial soup tasted like, says Michael in Richmond, Virginia. Again, I got to look up this word primordial. People are throwing it around. I don't know what it means. Holy smoke, what the hell was that? Snort, choke, sniff, hit me again, baby, says Kevin in Nevis, Minnesota. Terry in Wildemar, California says, golden smoke, elixir for your vocal cords. I could use that. Been talking for a while. Smell the campfire and eat it too, says Lee in Columbus, Georgia. Bad advice. Don't eat a campfire because it's hot. You'll burn your mouth. James in Renton, Washington says, Laphroaig, the whiskey that all the others aspire to be. Isn't that interesting? Playful image of other whiskeys going, man, I got to get there. Of course, whiskeys themselves don't aspire. A warm peat fire and the untamed, did I say that was from James in Renton, Washington? A warm peat fire and the untamed sea in every taste, says Charles in Portland, Maine. Oh man, here's John in Castle Rock, Colorado again. John says, here comes a siren. I'm okay for now, siren. I'll be all right. But stand by, ambulance. Tastes like the exhaust from a jet engine powered by dragon tears. I don't think this is the first time a dragon has cried in these pages. Dragons are so weepy. Tastes like the exhaust from a jet engine powered by dragon tears. Okay. Here we go. Wow, one sip and this is an instant, utter knockout, says Christopher. Pow, knocked out. It's as if you have been kissed by Scotland, says Keith in Louisville, Texas. Now, that might sound good, but if you were to be kissed by the entire population of Scotland, a taste that's better than eating tree bark, says Matt in Binghamton, New York. High praise, Matt. Thank you for that. A perfect blend of iodine. We're up to 9 iodines. A perfect blend of iodine, Band-Aid. I should get another tick sheet going for Band-Aid. This is at least the 3rd Band-Aid. A perfect blend of iodine, Band-Aid, and sea salt. I cut my teeth on 10-year cask strength. Dram it, said David in Atascadero, California. Iodine and Band-Aids for David. Evan in Winston-Salem, North Carolina says, warms your gullet. There's that word again. I do not care for the word gullet. Warms your gullet, tickles your soul. I'm naming my next born Pete, P-E-A-T. Why not? Oh, Hashtag Smoky Smooth. That's our first hashtag. Okay, this is from Anish in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Lighter fluid with an impeccable finish. Yeah. Bob in Edina, Minnesota says, bring it on, dry erase marker tsunami of peat. Wake up, water of life. Woody, very woody. Required. Ending mysteriously on the word required. I'm going to read that one again. Bring it on, dry erase marker tsunami of peat. Wake up, water of life. Woody, very woody. Required. That was Bob in Edina, Minnesota. Nicole in Salt Lake City, Utah says, it tastes like fire. Give me some more of that fire. Okay, all right, Nicole. Tara in Chicago, Illinois says, reminds me of when I accidentally mixed seaweed with my glass of iodine. Should we get a seaweed tick sheet going? This is Band-Aid. Too late for seaweed. There've already been 100 of those. Iodine. So what happened? You accidentally mixed your seaweed with your glass of iodine. Sweet stinkin' iodine, says Andrew in Camarillo, California. Camarillo and Camarillo. Dealer's choice. Peat so strong it made me turn my head from across the bar the second it was open, says Jose in Los Angeles, California. Oh, he paints a picture with words. I can picture that. Sitting at the bar, somebody opens it. What? Jenna, Richardson, Texas. As a born and raised Texan, there are few things with more smoke than our local barbecue, save Laphroaig. Thank you, Jenna. Sitting with my granddad as a little one in his leather chair while he smoked his old pipe. Sure do miss you, Dadgy. D-A-D-G-E-E is what this person calls his granddad. This is Robert in North Liberty, Indiana. Afton in Hutchinson, Minnesota says, the ocean and wood marry equals love. The ocean and wood marry. So the ocean and wood get married, and that equals love. Or the ocean and wood marry, whatever. Thank you, Afton. Like smoking a Scotch cigar, says John in Louisville, Kentucky. Oh, remember when we were talking about chocolate cigars a million years ago? I would love a chocolate cigar. Smoky Laphroaig equals Smoky Hills and the history of Scotland. More power to Scotland and Scotch. No, don't give Scotland more power. No, you can't. Smoky Laphroaig equals Smoky Hills and the history of Scotland. More power to Scotland and Scotch, says Ann in Tucson, Arizona. Randy in Denison, Texas says smoke, salt, and the sea must be sinful since it is so superb. Well, I'm not going to weigh in on whether it's sinful or not, but it might be. Alex in Huntington Woods, Michigan says a blissful kiss as the lips touch. The magic tincture, fire, earth, wind, and water. Lets the spirit soar. I like the word tincture. That's a fun word. All right. That was Alex in Huntington Woods, Michigan. Tasting the life always wanted. I'm lost already. Tasting the life always wanted. Laphroaig is the flavor of reality, says Seduth in Tallahassee, Florida. Tasting the life always wanted. Laphroaig is the flavor of reality. Just let those words play across your mind. See what they bring up for you. Jeff in New York, New York. I'm going to walk around a little bit. Jeff in New York, New York says, I do not like it. He says, I did not like it when I tasted it, like kerosene. Now, me like kerosene. Me like kerosene, says Jeff in New York, New York. He's going on record. Adam in Riverside, Rhode Island says, tastes and smells like low tide in a most mouth-watering way. Tastes and smells like low tide in a most mouth-watering way. Baking raisin-stuffed apples over an oak fire on the beach, says Brian in Downington, Pennsylvania. That sounds like a great fall activity. Enveloping aroma, smoky peat surrounds your palate, conjuring images of peat bogs cooled by ocean currents, says Teresa in Portland, Oregon. If the contents of a cigar happen to be freshly polished, starting again. If the contents of a cigar happen to be a freshly polished pair of leather shoes, says Brian in Bismarck, North Dakota, which is the capital of North Dakota. I will not hear any argument about that. That's one of the things I know. This is a bowl of vanilla ice cream from inside a forest fire, says Rainey, R-A-N-E-E, in New York, New York. If there's a forest fire and I've got a bowl of vanilla ice cream in there, you can leave it there. Don't feel the need to bring it to me. Too dangerous. Do you like fire? Because, well, you don't have a choice. You're getting fire, says Kyle in Fort Collins, Colorado. Let's do that. I like that. Do you like fire? Because, well, you don't have a choice. You're getting fire, says Kyle in Fort Collins, Colorado. That's true. You're getting fire. Sensational primeval nectar distilled from the hoary peats of the salty coasts of Isla. Hoary spelled H-O-A-R-Y, if you're interested. That's Greg in The Village, Oklahoma. That's a town called The Village. All right. Let's hear from Dan in Norco, California. The joys of a campfire enjoyed in the mouth. Yeah. What's that smell? Many great conversations have begun. Strangers want to know what's so pungent. I smile, knowing. Marissa in North Wales, Pennsylvania. So like she opens up a bottle and people all around her are talking, having many conversations. Strangers want to know what's so pungent. I smile, knowing, she says, but not telling them. Cruel. Laphroaig wakes you up, puts you to sleep. What's not to like? Good night, says William in Boise, Virginia. It wakes you up and puts you to sleep. Yeah, probably does. What's not to like? I can't think of a thing. All right, Michael in Lake Mary, Florida says, a deep tongue kiss from a self-immolating swamp monster. So a swamp monster has set himself on fire and then given you a deep tongue kiss. Not cool, swamp monster. Not cool. This is Stephen in Middleborough, Massachusetts. He says it is like being punched by a beautiful woman smoking a fat cigar. That warmth you're feeling is the elixir of life, says Alex in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Scottish peat sublimely captured into liquid smoke, says Ed in Fayetteville Hill. Nope. Lafayette Hill, Rhode Island. Oh, I'm going crazy. Like eating an expensive Italian loafer and a used cigar smoked by the Queen in the most delicious way possible, because that could go either way. A used cigar smoked by the Queen. Casey in Seattle, Washington contributed that. You suppose a cigar smoked by the Queen tastes different? I don't know. Maybe. Debbie in Sanibel, Florida says, peaty heaven, belly warmer, smooth glow, mellow bliss. Another dram, please. Lovely. Memory, flames, sweetness, pepper kisses, salty mystery, love and Laphroaig, says Claudine in Windsor, Connecticut. Pepper kisses. Gargling the hot embers from a campfire and then putting them out with a pile of dirt. See, again, a lot of people are envisioning campfire going in the mouth. I see why they're doing that, but I just feel the need to caution, don't put things that are on fire in your mouth. It should be easy. That was Brian in Northampton, Massachusetts, gargling the hot embers from that campfire. Bad idea, Brian. Face-slapping, smoky, peaty goodness that demands you pay attention. Screw smooth whiskeys. Whoa! That was James in Terre Haute, Indiana, picking a fight with smooth whiskeys. That's strong language, James. Here comes Milo in Sargentsville, New Jersey. Wandering through an autumn forest, I stumbled over an exposed tree root. As my face struck the leafy and mossy earth, I sensed a sharp pain and the taste of Laphroaig. We got to read that again. Wandering through an autumn forest, I stumbled over an exposed tree root. That happens. As my face struck the leafy and mossy earth, I sensed a sharp pain and the taste of Laphroaig. Cool. Milo in Sargentville, New Jersey. What was the pain? I do want to know what the sharp pain was from. Probably just a falling thing, but I want to know more. Okay. Monty in Beaverton, Oregon says, nom, 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 nom. Nom, 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 7 noms. And like 10 exclamation points. Nom, 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 nom. I think that's how that's meant to be read. Nom, 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 nom. Thank you, Monty. I don't know that that's how Monty would have said it, but he may not be a monster. Numbing my palate, the storm of Smoky Pete, haunted by the fog, says Mike in Santa Cruz, California, where it does get foggy. A nice sweetness to it that balances very well with the smoky flavors coming through. A nice sweetness to it that balances very well with the smoky flavors coming through, says Eric. Yeah, keeping it simple. Burnt out building, California during fire season. An adventure that ends in your house falling into the sea, but well worth it, says Jeff in Santa Barbara, California. What kind of an adventure ends with your house falling into the sea? It's hard to imagine that adventure. I think we need to know more about it. Jeff, get back to us on the beginning and the middle of that adventure, please. Andy in Palm Coast, Florida. Great name, Andy. Laphroaig is how I reward myself for behaving myself. Andy has a difficult time behaving himself. Sounds like. Needs some incentive. Laphroaig, no other whiskey experience can compare, says Misha in East Elmhurst, New York. Okay. Here comes Adam in Alta Loma, California. This is a long one. I'm getting so hot. All right, Adam in Alta Loma, California. The nose takes me back to skinned knees and iodine. Another iodine. The nose takes me back to skinned knees and iodine. Salty and medicinal. Smoky Pete squall in a glass. Hard to taste, harder to forget. That's a good one, Adam. Is it better than my last favorite? Yeah, it is, it is. I like it better. The nose takes me back to skinned knees and iodine. Salty and medicinal. Smoky Pete squall in a glass. I like squall. Hard to taste, harder to forget. I like that. Like being in the midst of a sea battle. The taste of smoke and the sea, says Roy in Altoona, Pennsylvania. What do you know about being in a sea battle, Roy? Maybe a lot. No way of knowing. Bill in Nashville, Tennessee says, peaty, like liquid dirt you actually want to drink. And I mean that in the best way possible. Yeah, there's a lot of liquid dirt you wouldn't want to drink. It smells like iodine. We're up to how many iodines? 13 iodines. It smells like iodine and road tar, but it tastes sweet, says Hal in Tucson, Arizona. So don't let the smell scare you off, he says. A hefty dose of peat smoke, brine, and medicinal qualities, says William. That takes us to a new page. Got to take a sip of water. I'm going to look at my watch again. Even the last time I looked at my watch, it was bad news. Okay. About an hour and a half in. Walk around a little bit. I'm going to stretch my legs here at the 90-minute mark. Walk around. All right. How are you doing? This is as hard on you as it is on me, if you're watching all of this. Are you watching all of this? That's an interesting choice. Okay. Whew. Makes me feel like a powerful, fire-breathing dragon. Bestial, fierce, indestructible, and timeless. Bestial. Wow, okay. That's a good one. That was Jana, or Jana, Jana, in New York, New York. Here we go. Luke, Boston, Massachusetts. Like drinking a forest fire that was started with diesel, but in a good way. A lot of people chiming in the end there, but in a good way. Here's Anna in Seaford, New York. Earthy and ancient. Hard rain, tonic of gods, sea salt and wind, ethereal, visceral, my day's end, oh lonesome me, bubbling crude. I like that. Earthy and ancient, hard rain, tonic of gods, sea salt and wind, ethereal, visceral, my day's end, oh lonesome me, bubbling crude. Anna, Seaford, New York, or Seaford. Tastes like trees in the forest after a massive fire sprinkled with sea salt and licorice, says Kendra in Canton, Mississippi. Kyle in Denver, Colorado. I think we've heard from you before, Kyle. He says, I had a flashback of siphoning gasoline from my 92 pickup. My tongue is appreciative. Whoa, yeah, I've seen that in cartoons. Siphoning gasoline out, like you use a pipe and you suck gasoline out of a thing, out of your 92 pickup. Why was that necessary, Kyle? And his tongue appreciates it. Oh, no, it's John in Castle Rock, Colorado again. This is, how many John? I should have had a tick sheet for Johns. This is like the fourth John. Here we go. What does it say about me when I love something that tastes like a mouthful of pennies and matchsticks? What does it say about you that you've contributed like 10 of these so far, John? But what does it say about you? I mean, that's probably rhetorical, but we might as well take a crack at answering the question. What does it say about me when I love something that tastes like a mouthful of pennies and matchsticks? No, I don't know what that says about you, but good luck. The taste is such, ... there's never enough, ... sublime, says Terrence in Mesa, Arizona. Beautiful, Mesa, Arizona. It's like a liquid campfire assaulting your mouth, says Joseph in Goose Creek, South Carolina. Helpfully difficult Scottish device testing pelvic and visceral fortitude. Alexander in Evans, Colorado.
Sir, will you yield?
No, sir, I will not yield. We have a lot more of these to get through, and we're going to do them all. I don't care how long it takes. I really don't. I'm starting to, but I don't. It is campfire. It is smoke and friends. It is the best memories. It is smiles and music, says Michael in Portland, Oregon. Interesting. A lot of people specify that they're sitting around a campfire with friends. Nobody sits around a campfire with enemies. A melody across your lips, a symphony in your nose, an orchestra across your tongue. Peter in Yakima, Washington. I once had a sinus infection, and it felt just like that, a symphony in my nose. Not in a good way. Michelle in Plano, Texas says, taking a sip of this sensuous whiskey is like getting a warm hug around your tongue. Sensuous. John in Colfax, Indiana says, smoke to melt your eyelids. Yikes. Melting eyelids. That's like remember that Raiders of the Lost Ark? Spoiler alert. Eyelids get melted in that movie. Big time. Chuck in York, Pennsylvania says, smoke, peat, iodine, sea air. Perfect combination in the perfect scotch. Wonderful on a cold, snowy night, says Steve in Broomfield, Colorado. Hey, they got some snow up there in Broomfield. Take Steve's word for it. Mark in New Haven, Connecticut says, sweet, earthy stovepipe soot. Sweet, earthy stovepipe soot. No such thing as a stovepipe soot. Although there are stovepipe hats. This liquid hurts my mouth feelings. In a good way, says Brandon in Richmond, Virginia. Hurts my mouth feelings. A one-sip time machine to the medieval. Peat fires, horses, swords, and men speaking of freedom. So says Jeremy in Holt, Michigan. Yeah. A lot of speaking of freedom in the medieval times, huh? Maybe not as much as you think. So smoked you will slap your own mother with a smoldering pine tree, says James in Jacksonville, Florida. Don't do that. Don't slap your own mother with anything, let alone a smoldering pine tree. James, that's terrible. This is Tom in Hanover, Maryland saying, imagine chewing a piece of charred applewood dipped in honey, followed by a kiss from a bonny lass with cinnamon on her lips. Oh, I will imagine that. Chewing a piece of charred applewood dipped in honey. So that part ain't great, right? Chewing a piece of charred wood, that ain't great. I do like honey. Followed by a kiss from a bonny lass with cinnamon on her lips. Overall, a positive experience. That's Tom in Hanover, Maryland. Philip in Noonan, Georgia says, reveling in the savory goodness of burnt Sharpie, wet dog, and electrical fire. Jeez. Okay, this is Jim in Dracut, Massachusetts. The jacket is coming off because I heard a word that sounded like jacket. Dracut, Massachusetts. Jim says, my wife hates it. A little piece of heaven. Just a lot going on in that marriage. This is all he tells us. My wife hates it. A little piece of heaven. The idea of your wife hating something is heavenly to you? I don't know, Jim. New perspective. Come on, man. Okay, Benjamin in Goodyear, Arizona says, it's like sitting by a campfire with your best friends enjoying the crisp evening. Yeah. Gretchen in Lebanon, Pennsylvania says, it's like tasting earth after a fresh summer rain. Yum, 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 yum. Nom, 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 nom. Kennedy in Raleigh, North Carolina says, I love Laphroaig. I love its peaty taste, which disappears almost as soon as I swallow it. It reminds me of beautiful, unique Scotland. The taste disappears almost as soon as I swallow it. David in Sumter, South Carolina says, peaty, licking burnt wood smoke, warm, friendly, old, no hurry, lazy. Poetic, painterly, lovely. Jack in Salem, Oregon says, nuclear blast of smoky and old medicinal flavors in your mouth in every oaky sip. Nuclear blast. That's the most serious of blasts. Brandon Oakdale, New York says, humbling. Humbling, smoky, peaty goodness. A taste of the earth and all its history. Oh, I can see where that would be humbling. I didn't know. I was interested in your use of the word humbling, but now I see all of its history. Get humbled by that. Here we go, Paul in West Palm Beach, Florida. Hey, I've been there. Paul says, party in my mouth. None better. Relaxing, smooth finish. Want more with ice. Perfection. The only one. Party in my mouth. Nimrod. This is a person whose name is Nimrod, living in Birmingham, Alabama. Flaming liquid lava with luscious, peaty, salty oyster shells, finishing in a warm glow. Woo! Flaming liquid lava. Don't drink that, Nimrod. This is Yoon Chan in Los Angeles, California, who says, mysteriously sexy. Oh, sophisticated. Bold flavors for the sophisticated, bold man. That's me. That's me. Wayland in Lake Forest Park, Washington says, how did they light an entire ocean on fire and put it in a bottle? And why is it so amazing? Buddy, that sounds terrible. An entire ocean on fire? We would be so screwed. While there is a hurry to taste, one must not haste to open a sip of heaven and forego the temptation to sip alone, but to share the ecstasy with thy brethren. I have a new favorite, Brent in Franklin, Indiana. That's great. Let's hear it again. While there is a hurry to taste, one must not haste to open a sip of heaven and forego the temptation to sip alone, but to share the ecstasy with thy brethren. Now, we could pick a little bit at the fact that heaven and brethren are not, this is not a perfect rhyme, but I like it. Thank you, Brent in Franklin, Indiana. Smells like a cabin in the woods, tastes like you're there by the fire. Dustin in Houston, Texas. I'm flagging you, Dustin. We've heard from you before. Smack! Smoke and peat placed right between my eyes, says Edward in Rapid City, South Dakota. Smack! Robert in Louisville, Kentucky says, man is the salt of the earth. Laphroaig brings the peat. Okay, if you say so. Tony in Alhambra, California says, lovely, alluring, pleasant, heavenly, roaring, original, angelic, inviting, gargantuan. Yeah. Nice list, Tony. I like it. Patrick in Charlotte, North Carolina says, standing by the firth, being slapped in the face with yesterday's campfire. Right out there by the firth. The firth of Forth? Doesn't specify. Pour a dram. Close your eyes, take a sip. Imagine a bonfire, your favorite beach, a summer's night. That's what's in your mouth, says Edward in Framingham, Massachusetts. Now you've got me trying to figure out what my favorite beach is. Oh, I like them all. Okay, take 2 parts seaweed, 4 parts peat smoke, stir in a fresh Band-Aid, and a wee splash of water, shaken and stirred. Brad in El Centro, California. Are you starting to think that Band-Aid should start making its own whiskey? If people like that taste so much in whiskey, I don't know, just a thought. Like being slowly drowned in a peat bog by someone who loves you very much. Says Richard in Durham, North Carolina. It's impossible to imagine a scenario where someone who loves you very much would drown you at all, let alone slowly. Why are they taking their time with it? Get it over with. The famous peat and smoke are enveloped in swanky duds, says Tony. The famous peat and smoke are enveloped in swanky duds. Swanky duds, says Tony. David in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, says, recalls a time of fierce liberty. Laphroaig's perfect combination of spice and peat beckons the independent soul. Isn't that interesting? A lot of people taste this and feel free. That's a good feeling. Kevin in Flagler Beach, Florida says, taste and fall in love, a smoky peat bite of the old sod. We cannot guarantee you're going to fall in love if you taste this. Might happen, can't guarantee it. It's like snogging a Balrog over a crackling peat fire, says Robert in Miami, Florida. That's my new favorite. What's it like? Oh, it's like snogging a Balrog over a crackling peat fire. I've never heard that before. Snogging a Balrog. Still be dragons. Snogging a Balrog. Anthony in San Leandro, California says, breathe deeply. Cool Atlantic air, smoke from a bonfire, dry grass in the wind, sand, sea, shells, honey, vanilla, oak sip, savor, breathe slowly now. Laphroaig. I read it wrong. It's breath slowly now. I mean, that's what it says. I think I corrected it, right? No, I don't know. It says breath deeply. Anthony, I think you spelled the word wrong a couple times. That's fine. In San Leandro, California. Breathe deeply, breathe slowly. Great, thank you. Aaron in Brooklyn, New York says, imagine crossing a dragon with an even bigger dragon. Maybe then you'll have enough fire. Says Aaron in Brooklyn, New York. Yep, 2 dragons of 2 different sizes out there in Brooklyn. Steve in Tucson, Arizona says, it's a peat fire quenched with wet sugar kelp. I can't imagine a greater taste of the sea. Is sugar kelp a thing or something you imagined? I don't know. Okay, this is Walt in Boise, Idaho. Boise, Idaho. My wife and I both love Laphroaig. That's the most normal sentence we've heard so far from anybody, I think. That's just simple. Fastball across the plate from Boise. My wife and I both love Laphroaig. She has a better palate than I. She says she tastes the rocks the water flowed over before getting to the distillery. Great. Thanks, Walt. She tastes the rocks that the water flowed over before getting to the distillery. Taste the rocks. Possible slogan. A beautiful woman's warm embrace paired with the smoke of a great cigar, says Timothy in Noblesville, Indiana. A chocolate cigar? Bob in Rockville, Maryland says, a full-throated volley of smoked peat and eye-opening fire in a glass. Yeah, full-throated volley. Smoked peat and eye-opening fire in a glass. Ouch. This is Barbara in Thurmont, Maryland. Hey, that's 2 Marylands in a row. Saturday, February. That's a month with an R in it. Saturday, February, low gray skies, rain. Is this a weather report? What's happening here? Is this just, if you're asked for your reactions to Laphroaig, please don't just open the paper to the weather and write down what today's weather is going to be. That's not the assignment. I will read on anyway. Saturday, February, low gray skies, rain, book in hand, history of the UK. Malt in hand, Laphroaig 18-year. Peaty lips kiss, remembering time, you still love him. Who is he? That took a turn. This is a love story, not a weather report. Barbara, that's lovely. Reading a book about the history of the UK, she still loves him. That's sad. Well, I hope it works out, Barbara. It's like surfing a burning oak tree in a hurricane, says Tom in Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania. Okay. Bob in Coscob, Connecticut says, distilled by experience, aged with wisdom, and enjoyed every time. That's great. Look, you can print that up and put it on the bottle. Distilled by experience, aged with wisdom, and enjoyed every time. Buddy, get a job in advertising. That's a great line. Put that right on the bottle. Laphroaig and I met in nope, I'm not great at reading. Laphroaig and I met in 2013. Since I concluded there is no need to wander or further pursue a finer whiskey, says Michael. Willow Street, Pennsylvania. Is that the name of a town? More likely a street. Laphroaig and I met in 2013. Since I concluded there is no need to wander or further pursue a finer whiskey. Comparing Laphroaig to a life mate. Is that what you're doing there, Michael? I like it. All right. Next up, Lance. Lance says, your first time feels like a barroom brawl in your mouth. Mean and uncompromising until you taste the beauty beneath. That's my new favorite. I like that one a lot because it's true. There's no compromising in a bar brawl. No compromising. Your first time feels like a barroom brawl in your mouth, mean and uncompromising, until you taste the beauty beneath, says Lance. If only somebody would compromise, that brawl wouldn't have started in the first place. That's great. Okay. Only the strong shall partake, for it is the Scotch of champions, for Pete's sake, P-E-A-T, says Greg in Berwyn, Pennsylvania. Isla in a single taste, says Michael in Solomons, Maryland. Short, sweet, to the point. Oscar in Forney, Texas says, joy, home, warmth, heart, exciting, special, memories, friends, experience. Yep, that's a list of words. Now, is that one of those things where you, like if you put the first letter of the words down in a row, it would spell something? Let's try. J-H-W-H-E-S, no. All right, Richard in Suquamish, Washington. Suquamish. Says, Laphroaig tastes to us like Isla Pete flambe, as a drenching squall brings kelp and brine to warehouse walls from adjacent sea, warming our hearts, calming our minds. Good use of the word flambe. A lot of people have talked about things being on fire. No one has yet used the word flambe. Great work. Richard in Suquamish, Washington. Colby in Great Falls, Montana says, I grew up on a sheep ranch. First time I had Laphroaig, I said it tasted like sheep ranching. Okay. And nobody can argue with you, unless somebody else who grew up on a sheep ranch. But you are the expert. I'll have to take your word for it. I'm losing my mind. This is Connor in Quincy, Massachusetts, who says, select makes me feel like I'm king of the north. Winter is coming. King of the north. Tom in Lusby, Maryland says, like putting a peat fire out with salt water in your mouth. How'd the peat fire get in there to begin with? Don't put things that are on fire in your mouth. How many times have I said this today? Don't put fiery things in your mouth. John in Omaha, Nebraska says, for when your taste buds are ready to act like adults. Oh. Okay. I take your point. My taste buds have been acting like children. That's fair. I haven't heard about a dragon in a while. I miss the dragons. Do you miss the dragons? I wouldn't mind hearing about a dragon. Seductive and smooth with the promise to please with each sip, says Vernon, Des Moines, Iowa. Randy in Ontario, Oregon says, the vanilla-dipped roasted marshmallow gift from a... The vanilla-dipped roasted marshmallow gift from a peat-eating dragon. Right on cue. I swear I didn't see that coming. That's great. The dragon is back. The vanilla-dipped roasted marshmallow gift from a peat-eating dragon. We met a dragon earlier in this exercise who was a vegetarian. This dragon only eats peat, also making it a vegetarian. Randy, Ontario, Oregon. There's no meat in the peat. Aaron in Los Gatos, California says, Disco Inferno, burn, baby, burn. Okay. Kevin in Tallahassee, Florida says, the enthralling kiss of an addictive smoky spider? An addictive smoky spider. I shouldn't brag, but I don't feel like I could ever get addicted to a smoky spider. I really don't. Okay, my constitution is just too strong. Here we go. Owen in Columbia, South Carolina says, leads the taste buds through an incredible journey that ends with your house falling into the sea. That's a reference to a much earlier one of these. Stephen, or Stephen, probably Stephen, says, if a prophet, you'd be Jeremiah. A play, The Tempest. A mountain, K2. You're a rough, craggy sob, S-O-B, and we love you. If a prophet, you'd be Jeremiah. A play, The Tempest. A mountain, K2. You're a rough, craggy S-O-B, and we love you. Thank you, Stephen. That was a dramatic read. A now extinct majestic beast, a dragon. A now extinct majestic beast, well-behaved and housebroken, but wild at heart. So not a dragon. You can't housebreak a dragon. That's John in Newport News, Virginia. Newport News. The taste of sea and sky in one glass. It is the truth of beauty, says Kayla in Townsend, Massachusetts. Lovely. Aaron in Tallahassee, Florida. Laphroaig is the first scotch I ever tried, and I'm still tasting that sublime and immaculate ashtray. Some ashtrays are immaculate. You can clean them. Dwayne in Houston, Texas says, smoky and warm seaweed and iodine with kerosene, like summer camp. We're going to unpack that. Smoky and warm seaweed and iodine with kerosene, like summer camp. Buddy, I don't know what summer camp you went to, but if it was. Smoky and warm seaweed and iodine with kerosene, that's a weird summer camp. William in Ogden, Utah says, it is simple. I especially prefer it, as it tastes of a combination of fine cigar and saddle soap. Couldn't be simpler than that. Andrew in Austin, Texas says, starts strong, finishes stronger. There's a fine line between scotch and gasoline. Straddle it with us. Who can turn down an invitation like that? I like it. Dina in Houston, Texas says, delightfully offensive. Delightfully offensive. And then boom, shakalaka. Delightfully offensive. Boom, shakalaka. Dina, Houston, Texas. Odor like the disinfectant used at a local pool when I was young. Reminder of my youth with every dram now. Love it. Larry, Columbia Falls, Montana. That had to be a delicious disinfectant. All right, I'm going to look at my watch again. Okay, we're coming up on 2 hours into this. We're about 2 hours in. This is a long time. Whew, got a lot more to go. Feeling great about it so far. I will not yield the floor. I'm going to keep going as long as my strength holds out, as long as there is breath in my lungs, and as long as my tongue functions, and as long as I'm still interested in dragons, which I am, and as long as I can keep ticking off instances of the word iodine. And buddy, I can do that all day. I'm not going anywhere. Yeah, I'm losing my mind. I'm going a little crazy.
Sir, will you yield?
I will not yield, sir. I will not yield the floor. I will continue. You can yield. You yield. I'm continuing. All right? Good to take a little break. Oh, this is an extreme thing to do. This is an odd thing to do. This is crazy. Okay, back in. Well, it's hard. It's hard. Once you take a break, it's hard to get back in. I'll say that. Don't take breaks. That's the answer. Woo! It's like still believing in Santa Claus. If you do, it's smoky and decadent. If not, it smells like a bandage. What? Says Todd in Endwell, New York. I have to read that again. It's like still believing in Santa Claus. Okay, if you still believe in Santa Claus, it's smoky and decadent. If not, if you don't believe in Santa Claus, it smells like a bandage. Nope, that doesn't make any sense. I'm calling it. That one makes no sense. It is a cartoon whale with a cigar hanging off his lip, slapping you in the face. It is perfection. Says Joel in Jacksonville, Florida. A cartoon whale with a cigar hanging off his lip, slapping you in the face with what? One of his fins, I guess. Andrew in Midland, Georgia says, industrial town. Oh, he's setting a scene. Setting the scene. Industrial town. Smoked sunrise. Bars empty. Sweep. Dump the butts. Ah, my peaty sweetie. I remember. Mattress in back. Soft heather. Lay me down and slip away. Ugh. Why does this bar have a mattress in the back? That's awful. Woo! Yes, that's how they do it out there in Midland, Georgia. Is that right, Andrew? Industrial town, smoked sunrise, bars empty, sweep, dump the butts. Ah, my peaty sweetie, I remember. Mattress in back, soft heather. Who's Heather? Lay me down and slip away. That's disturbing. Okay, Jeffrey in Bradenton, Florida says, it's like aged bilge from the flagship of a salty old privateer that'd been set aflame and adrift on the shore of a reedy bog. One more time. It's like aged bilge, gotcha, from the flagship, okay, of a salty old privateer. I'm lost. That'd been set aflame and adrift on the shore of a reedy bog. Jeffrey, Bradenton, Florida. That's what Laphroaig tastes like to him. I don't know what a privateer is. That and primordial are two things I need to learn more about. All right. When a crazy Islaer decided to dry malt over peat fires, the world became a better place, says John in Meridianville, Alabama, assuming that the first person to make Laphroaig was crazy. That's a big assumption. A burnt log liquefied, mixed with foul weather, but loved by my father, and therefore should never be changed, says Terry in Tampa, Florida. Finally, some respect for someone's father. Nice to read that. A truly frightening combination of the 5 elements, earth, fire, wind, water, and heart, says James in Charleston, South Carolina. Earth, fire, wind, water, and heart. Okay. Roger says, where there's smoke, there's Laphroaig, the taste that never peters out. P-E-A-T, peters out. Here we go. We're still doing this. Bob from Toms River, New Jersey. I've been there. Filtered through a lumberjack's pine-infused underwear. No, it isn't. I'm going to go on record saying Laphroaig has not been filtered through anybody's underwear. Just to be perfectly clear about that. It's like sticking your nose into a tank of brine shrimp and having your fishmonger dry it with his Band-Aid covered hands. Mike in Chicago, Illinois. I think we've heard from Mike before. Maybe all of the Band-Aid references are from this one guy. He says, you're fishmonger. I don't have a fishmonger. It tasted like I had just licked the ashes off a burnt log. I could not get enough of it. Clayton in Columbia, Missouri. That's another one of those, sounds like something bad, but I love it type of a format. That's a popular construction of these comments. Just observing things. Try it, you'll love it, or you'll hate it, but do try it. Says Bruce in Franklin, Massachusetts. Try it, you'll love it, or you'll hate it, but do try it. There are not enough O's in smooth to describe this drink of the gods. Michael in Crescent, Pennsylvania. 2 O's is just not gonna cut it. Anne in New York, says, delicious, peat-tastic, gorgeous golden, D-E-L-I-C-I-O-U-S, delicious. Can't state it enough. Perfection in a bottle. And peat-tastic. That's a new word. If she can invent a word like peat-tastic, then Michael in Crescent, Pennsylvania, you can add more O's to smooth. That's my opinion. Earl in LA, California says, the first time I tried it, I thought I had purchased a bad bottle. The second time, I fell in love. Laphroaig forever. Number 4, E-V-A, forever. Well, you didn't purchase a bad bottle. Joe in Kansas says, tastes like the first thing invented by cavemen right after they discovered fire. So the second thing invented by cavemen. Right after they invented fire, they said, next up, whiskey! Helicopter. Like peat and smoke making passionate love in your mouth. Perfect, says Frank in Mount Olive, New Jersey. Buddy, I don't want any two things making love in my mouth. I really don't. Timeless endeavor to the coziest campfire you have ever been warmed by. Reward yourself and escape, says Ernest in Tucson, Arizona. Reward yourself and escape. Amanda in Portland, Oregon says, gentle kisses of peat with traces of the salty sea. Yeah. Betsy, we don't know where she's from. Betsy says, Laphroaig is the definition of peaty. Close my eyes, and with one sip, I'm fireside with friends on a cool, damp night in Isla. Got to get out there to Isla. Sounds great. Bob in Coscob, Connecticut. We've heard from you before, Bob. This better be good if you're chiming in again. Better be good, Bob. Glowing, its perfection causes heartwarming glee and mouth-numbing goodness. Say, ah. Yeah, that's pretty good. Mouth-numbing. Andrew in Midland, Georgia, who we've also heard from before, says, ash to forehead, glass to mouth, glow to belly, warmth to heart. So to the forehead, it's like ash. I'm not going to bother to make sense of that. It's poetry. All right, Gregory in Hubbard, Ohio says, burnt marshmallow wrapped in Band-Aids. Band-Aids. Guys. Burnt marshmallow wrapped in Band-Aids, baked inside bread, covered in clover honey, all cooked over a campfire. In other words, delicious. That's right, in other words, delicious. I know I'm nitpicking, but that's only one word. You know what I'm saying? You could go. Anyway. The perfect whiskey to grab a seat and enjoy the sweet, smoky peat while relaxing under the stars with a fire roasting, says Mike in Chicago, Illinois. Mike. Come on, Mike. All right. Hey, it's Chet. This is making me think that the last time, many hours ago, we heard from somebody named Chef. Maybe that was a typo, and it was actually Chet, because I've never met anybody named Chef. Anyway, here's Chet in Benson, Arizona, who says, powerful, earthy, but a bit of heaven on the palate. Powerful, earthy, but a bit of heaven on the palate. Benjamin in Portland, Oregon says, like a rubber glove employed in the cadaver lab, then thrown upon a peaty flame, staggering, fascinating. More, please. A rubber glove in the cadaver lab. You know what that means. Dead bodies. This rubber glove has been used to poke at dead bodies, and then somebody threw it on a fire, and you want more. All right, Benjamin. Memories. ... Nights camping as a youth by the campfire under the stars, stress-free, says Jennifer in New York, New York. Campfire under the stars in New York, New York. That's not going to be stress-free. Thomas in Hayward, Wisconsin says, only the salty tears of angels falling upon God's smoky hearth can produce this heavenly malt. That's lovely. Richard in Birmingham, Alabama says, the earth, water, and soul of Scotland in a sip. Nice. Scotland. Laphroaig is something different. It smells like a Band-Aid, tastes like magic, and comes from an island full of sheep. Smells like a Band-Aid, tastes like magic, and comes from an island full of sheep. Yeah. Okay. Again, it happened again. Those last 5 minutes took an hour. All right, here we go. Salted stone, damp weather, fire, slight honey, smoked peat, roasted coal, gasoline, says Daniel in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. Paul in Rockford, Michigan says, every sip is a hug from the inside. A hug from the inside. That's an interesting image. What's hugging you from inside? An alien. Smooth, warm, smoky, wonderful yum. Goodness in every drop, says David in Batavia, Illinois. Smooth, warm, smoky, wonderful yum. Larry in New Orleans, Louisiana. Okay, Larry says, the most wonderful scotch ever. From the first time took a sip, I was hooked. Okay. All right, Larry. Jason in Falls Church, Virginia says, take yourself to Scotland without leaving the front door. That's another great slogan. You could put that on the bottle. You could put it on the bottle, Jason. Get yourself a job writing ad copy. Take yourself to Scotland without leaving the front door. You're staying in the front door. Yeah, it needs work. All right. Daniel from Waukesha, Wisconsin says, I cannot believe that I keep doing this to myself on purpose. Doing this to myself, meaning drinking Laphroaig. I cannot believe I keep drinking Laphroaig on purpose. Believe it, Daniel, it's happening. Brian in San Francisco, California says, smoky, salty, peaty, bold, unapologetic sea storm. Fierce Isla's signature. Hey, if you're waiting for an apology from a sea storm, forget it. Sea storms don't apologize, and they don't ask permission. Jonathan in Lafayette, Indiana says, it's the liquid equivalent of a bonfire on the beach, water of life. Here's the shortest one yet. Jeff in Parker, Colorado says, booyah! That's our shortest one. Kudos to you, Jeff, for your one-word contribution. Lift a peaty hallelujah, rejoicing over amber in your glass, says Tom in Loveland, Ohio. Trenton in Bourne, Texas says, it's a hell of a lot better than haggis. Oh, those are fighting words for the Scots. Don't take on haggis. You know what haggis is? It's best that you don't. Try it, you might like it, and then ask what it is. Hal in Phoenix, Arizona says, spectacular! Deluxe Distillery Tour last November confirmed it. Oh, this one took the tour. Hal took the Deluxe Distillery Tour, which confirmed how spectacular that is. Stephen in Providence, Rhode Island says, free-range seaweed deep-fried in bacon fat. The carnivore's answer to kale crisps. Hey, you need to copyright that. You gotta get the patent on that. Free-range seaweed deep-fried in bacon fat? You're gonna be a millionaire, Stephen. Maybe not the free-range part, but if you, put seaweed and deep-fried in bacon fat, that sounds great. All right, from the dram lies the ability to solve the world's problems, emanating from the essence of the briny sea. From the dram lies the ability to solve the world's problems, emanating from the essence of the briny sea. Richard, Mercer Island, Washington. Lovely. Justin in Columbus, Ohio says, it's as if I just licked asphalt and washed it down with a bog, but in a good way. All right. These are people who, he has never licked asphalt, right, Justin? You never licked asphalt. You don't know what it's like. You're guessing. Get back to us when you've licked some asphalt and can say it with authority. Here's Brett in Sonoya, Georgia, saying 200 years of Isla blood, sweat, and tears in a dram. Yeah, 200 years. That's a long time. James in Landisville, Pennsylvania. If it's not a little bit of heaven, then I pity the angels. If it's not a little bit of heaven, then I pity the angels. Yeah, we've heard a lot about angels today. They've been crying mostly. In this case, we're speculating whether they can drink this, and if not, pity. Gina in Kansas City, Missouri says, imagine falling through time. Okay, you've got me. Imagine falling through time, being saved by Highlanders, and meeting your destiny. Now add dirt, sweat, and slap yourself. Brutal happiness. That's a fun story. I fell through time. I was saved by Highlanders, and I met my destiny. What's my destiny? I don't know. Now add dirt, sweat, and slap yourself. That part I wouldn't do. I wouldn't do it. Brutal happiness, says Gina in Kansas City, Missouri. John in Castle Rock, Colorado. You again? Why, John, you son of a gun. John says, reminds me of my dad's old coat. Well-worn wool, quilted silk lining, wisps of secretly smoked cigars. Dad's cigars were a secret, eh? There's a story there, John. Reminds me of my dad's old coat. Well-worn wool, quilted silk lining, wisps of secretly smoked cigars. It's hard to keep a cigar a secret because they smell so bad. Chocolate cigar? Deep space in the mouth of a star. Jason, Los Angeles, California. Bringing a little sci-fi to the proceedings. William in Rancho Santa Margarita, California says, like riding a unicorn in a grassy field with a rainbow in the sky, which is on fire as hell burns around you. That took a turn. I feel bad for the unicorn. He'll be all right. Medicinal Magic Malt says, Ozzy in Iron Mountain, Michigan. Medicinal Magic Malt. Bold on the tongue, next comes the peat. Then you're at the beach. Sweet. Another sip. Don't spoil it with ice, says Stephen in Katy, Texas. Okay. Samuel in Omaha, Nebraska says, a lingering kiss from the angel of mercy. Tender, yet memorable. Memorable. Mouth not making words. Taking a sip of water. Suffering. Like standing at a podium for hours, talking. Where was I? But there's nothing like it anywhere on earth for warm, friendly comfort and joy. 12 months of Christmas and Easter all in one. Ralph in Rockland, Maine. Gotta be honest with you, 12 months of Easter and Christmas at the same time sounds bad. That sounds like a rough 12 months. Woo! All right. Used to be, to get this much smoke, you had to be the witch at the trial. Did I tell you before that Christmas guy was Ralph in Rockland, Maine? This is Scott in Orlando, Florida, saying, used to be, to get this much smoke, you had to be the witch at the trial. In other words, had to be set on fire. It's a motivational speech from the Loch Ness Monster, says Adam in New York, New York. I'd love to hear that. I'd love to hear the Loch Ness Monster give a speech of any kind, motivational or otherwise. You know, that monster is down there. Laphroaig is like taking a trip to Isla in a glass, says Blair. Nice and simple. It elevates your senses. It stimulates your thoughts. It takes you to a place called home, says John in Waterford, Michigan. So it takes you to Waterford, Michigan. That's his home. Rick in Muskogee, Oklahoma says, standing on a rocky beach, salty air and a driftwood fire. Nothing between you and Canada but ocean. Yes, that's the flavor. Yeah, I don't like to have anything between me and Canada except an ocean. Richard in Denham Springs, Louisiana says, it's like kissing a beautiful woman, the sweet, smooth taste that you wish will never end. Yeah, that's nice. The woman might have a different perspective. She might be like, this kiss has got to end sometime. Starts with a hit of iodine, followed with oily, smoky swamp mud, says Meade in Houston, Texas. Okay, Meade. It will steal your soul and make you happy it did, like smoky ambrosia, says Joe in North Hollywood, California. Unlike when the devil steals your soul, then you're not going to be happy. I lost my soul in a fiddle contest with the devil. That's a true story. I'll tell it another time. Here's Luke in Rockville, Maryland. I think we've heard from Luke before. The sea, the isle, the peat, the scotch. Period. Paul in Santa Barbara, California says, best peaty scotch of them all. There's not another peaty scotch that Paul prefers in the world. Sarah in Aurora, Colorado says, to taste a wisp of fire and ice, smoke and mist, and yet land softly on hallowed earth. Yeah? What about it? No, that's her whole thing. Fire and ice, right? Song of fire and ice. We're back. We're back. Winter is coming. I'm losing my mind. It's a warm, smoky, peaty punch in the mouth. Perfect, says Michael in Fremont, New Hampshire. So many people getting kicked and slapped, punched in the mouth. Laphroaig, the reason aliens keep returning to Earth, says Patrick in Grapevine, Texas. Patrick, what do you know? What do you know, Patrick? This is important. Don't just reveal it here. If this guy has evidence, not only that aliens have visited Earth, but that they keep returning for this beverage, that's important. Patrick in Grapevine, Texas. If you're just talking, Patrick, say it now. But if you mean it, make yourself clear, because we've got to do something about it. Here's another Matthew. The last guy was not named Matthew. But This is a Matthew in Princeton, Massachusetts. Like a campfire coated in a peaty blanket. Flavors dance along your tongue like flames on an evergreen log. Yeah. Richard, hey, in Suquamish, Washington. I know we've been to Suquamish before. I don't remember if it was Richard, probably. Peat, smoke of land. So many of these sentences are weird. I'm getting tired. Peat, come on. Peat, smoke of land. Tang of sea air. Iodine and brine. As a sailor, all appeal to me. Laphroaig warms me with thoughts of home and exotic ports. Oh, that's a great one. We're going to hear that again. Richard is or is imagining himself to be a sailor. And he says, peat smoke of land, tang of sea air, iodine and brine. As a sailor, all appeal to me. Laphroaig warms me with thoughts of home and exotic ports. I like it. Is it better than the last favorite one? It's been a while since I had a new favorite. Yeah, let's do it. All right, Richard, you're my new favorite. You really brought it home with thoughts of home and exotic ports. Davy in Joplin, Missouri, who spells his name like Davy Jones of the Monkees. Davy says, like imbibing the magical elixir of some Caledonian alchemist in an octopus's garden beneath the sea. Hey, that's a trademark thought, octopus's garden. Step on Ringo. Grant in Hillsboro, Oregon says, a sensational malt that is never moody, but always steady. Yeah, I don't like those moody malts. Robert in Northville, Michigan says, 'tis a very special experience. Sit back and enjoy every sip. 'Tis. Nice use of 'tis. Just a sip is the nectar of the angels, smooth and peaty, an art unto itself, says Michael in Dayton, Texas. Patrick in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, where, by the way, they used to sometimes burn witches. We were talking about burning witches before. Winston-Salem, that's the place to do it. Life in a glass, I don't know what I'm talking about. Life in a glass, colon, water, earth, fire, air, joy, struggle, spirit. Oh, yes, there is struggle. Marla says, can't wait to sip a glass of Laphroaig. Cheers. Don't wait, unless you're at work. Charles in Somerset, Massachusetts says, it's the peat you want to repeat. This is not the first time we've heard this joke. Not your fault, Charles, but it's a great joke. Repeat, peat, and repeat. Creosote. What is creosote? Oh, I think I'm about to find out. Creosote, colon, an oily liquid having a burning taste and penetrating odor of distilled coal and wood tar used in preserving a telephone pole. I love the taste. Let's get that again. This is Mark in Corpus Christi, Texas. Creosote, an oily liquid having a burning taste and penetrating odor of distilled coal and wood tar used in preserving a telephone pole. I love the taste. You got to preserve those telephone poles for future generations. Robert in Mogador, Ohio says, like a first sip of a mountain brook's pure fresh water in the midst of a smoldering forest fire. First sip of a mountain brook's... Lee in Springfield, Massachusetts says, definitely a taste that stays with you, like when you walk by a house that was on fire and the fire is put out, but that burnt smell lingers. Well, the taste does too. That's not a common experience. A lot of people don't have the experience of walking by a house that has just been put out, that was on fire. Alex of Baldwin, Missouri says, wow, this smells like a campfire. I love it. Yeah. I'm going to do some light stretching. I'm going to take a sip of water. I'm going to do some light stretching. Here at the, how long have we been at? Almost about 2.5 hours. This is nothing. I can do another hour and a half of this standing on my head. I'm not going to, but I'm going to do some stretching. I'm going to read while I stretch. Why not? Can you see me? Slide back into your chair as the rich, peaty flavors dance on your tongue and fill the mouth with a sensual warmth that makes one say, yes, this is scotch, says Amanda in Wichita, Kansas. Slide back into your chair. Yeah. Okay. Janet in Doral, Florida says, my first taste of Laphroaig nearly killed me. I choked, I cried, and then I insisted on another dram. And I loved it too. Nearly killed you? I think you're exaggerating. James in Littlestown, Pennsylvania says, the peat. Few things in life, I'm not good at stretching. Few things in life will provide as much joy as Laphroaig quarter cask, says James in Littlestown, Pennsylvania. Do you have that? Yes, that's the one. This is going to help me, because it's the lower back that most hates standing. I find, oh, good. That's good. Unique, smooth, oh yeah. Unique, smooth, and yet peaty. This winter will charm the most skeptic of them all. That's not how you use that word, Al, in Portland, Oregon. You want to say skeptical. Unique, smooth, and yet peaty. This winter will charm the most skeptic of them all. Malt whiskey is good. Single malt is better. Isla malt is best. 10-year-old Laphroaig is perfect, says Thomas in Fayetteville, Indiana. Matt in Binghamton, New York. I like this ball. Matt says, a mouthful of flavor that blows peat smoke out your nose. Huh. Dave in Chromo, Colorado. That's a strange name for a town. It's like an angel graced your tongue with recycled Laphroaig. What do you mean by that? Drinking Laphroaig is like drinking recycled Laphroaig? You're going to have to explain, Dave. That doesn't make sense. All right, that's good. That felt good. Thank you. Pang. That was helpful, but if I stay on it too long, I'll fall asleep. What were we talking about? What was I talking about? Oh, yeah, Laphroaig. Beep, 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 beep. Where there's smoke, there's Laphroaig. Look no further. No, that's bad advice. Where there's smoke, there might be fire. You need to keep looking. If there's smoke and all you see is a bottle of Laphroaig, keep looking. That's not the source of the smoke. Steve in Easton, Pennsylvania. Hey, I knew a guy from there one time. Okay. Mark in Decatur, Georgia. Sip of water. Woo. The glass of earth. No, I screwed up already. I screwed up on the first word. A glass of earth on fire, ancient and elemental. It smolders sweetly and satisfies completely. That's a good one. I think that's my new favorite. Where was that last one I liked? Oh, yeah, the thing about exotic ports. I like this. Let's hear it again. A glass of earth on fire, ancient and elemental. It smolders sweetly and satisfies completely. That's great. Although, again, I do not advocate putting anything on fire in your mouth. A warm, smoky blanket wrapped around my soul, says Rachel in Westerville, Ohio. Jeff in West Des Moines, Iowa says, as if heaven relocated to the smoky depths of hell. Pete, I hate you. I love you. Repeat, says Steve in Louisville, Kentucky. A real conversation with Pete. Dustin in Houston, Texas. Oh, I know we've heard from Dustin before. I'm getting to know you guys. I'm getting to recognize your distinctive way with words. Dustin in Houston, Texas says, envelops your nose with smoke, laces your tongue with peat, warms your soul with malt. Yep. Matt in Manhattan, Kansas. The town's so nice, they named it once. It's like drinking an old tree, a delicious old tree. Can't drink an old tree. Come on, Matt. Rolando in Chicago, Illinois says, it is like drinking from a wooden medicine cabinet while it is on fire, and you do it over and over again. Man, oh man. Thomas in Houston, Texas says, when I die, may flights of angels sing me to my rest unless Satan is pouring Laphroaig. Yeah. That's great. Oh, the angels are bringing me up to heaven? Yes, I'm going. Wait a minute, Satan is pouring Laphroaig? Forget it. I'll go down into the fiery depths of hell to be eternally flayed. Just to get a taste of that Laphroaig. Who knew Grandpa's old basement could taste this good? Says Ryan, Daleville, Alabama. Ryan, I knew. I've tasted Grandpa's old basement. I've known all along how good it is. It might be 10 years in barrel, but the taste of Laphroaig throws me thousands of years back into the myths of a time wreathed in legend, says Stuart in Halesburg, California. I like that one. I do. Winter is coming. Steve in Spring Lake, Michigan says, it's what God gives the devil at Christmas. Ha ha. That's a great one. That's nice and short. God gives the devil Christmas presents. Of course he does. Does the devil ever get God a present? Not one time. But God always does. He doesn't care. He goes, I know you didn't get me anything last year, but I got you something this year, yet again, and it's a bottle of Laphroaig, and I hope you enjoy it. Steve in Spring Lake, Michigan, bringing us that lovely image. Robert in Carroll Stream, Illinois says, my wife often remarks, this is like the setup to a classic joke. My wife often remarks, it smells like a boat fire and tastes like jet fuel, yet smells nice on your lips. Your wife is nuts. My wife often remarks, it smells like a boat fire and tastes like jet fuel, yet smells nice on your lips. It smells nice on your lips, says Robert in Carroll Stream, Illinois, whose wife presumably gave permission to be quoted in this manner. This dram, ye old sea dog said, tastes of the wind and the waves and all the fine comforts of hearth and home, says Thomas in Caleres, Pennsylvania. This dram, ye old sea dog said, tastes of the wind and the waves and all the fine comforts of hearth and home. Joshua in Suffern, New York says, 200 years of peaty glory wetting the whistle of distinguished palates that shout proudly, truly, this is the water of life. Great job, Joshua. It's friendly, easy going down, warms my cockles, brings a smile, eases my bones, I purr like my cat. That's Claire in Battle Creek, Michigan, introducing the word cockles to our day. Tastes like dirt, my wife observes. A lot of people blaming their wives for these observations. Tastes like dirt, my wife observes. I moan a reply. Yes, Mother Earth. Rich, full, ancient, fills your mouth like coming home. Full of life spirit, the drink of ages. Thomas in Clearwater, Florida, who buried the lead. He's married to Mother Earth? That's what it sounds like. Tastes like dirt, my wife observes. I moan a reply. Yes, Mother Earth. Rich, full, ancient, fills your mouth like coming home, full of spirit, the drink of ages. And a strange look into that household down there in Clearwater, Florida. JD in Carroll, Ohio says, if you had a superpower to set the sea on fire, it would taste like this. The superpower would? Oh, I got you mixed up. Grammar. Brett in Atlanta, Georgia says, like drinking ashes of Darth Vader mixed with the tears of Kylo Ren. What? This is a real Star Wars fan. Like drinking ashes of Darth Vader, and we don't know that Darth Vader's ashes were not turned into a drink. They may have been. Mixed with the tears of Kylo Ren. What's going to make Kylo Ren cry? He didn't cry in that first movie, did he? I bet he's going to cry, though. Oh, they're going to make him cry. Oh, they're going to make him cry. Here comes Dick in Seattle, Washington, saying, quarter cask may have began with horses, but it gives me the notion to out and slay a dragon. We're back to dragons. Karen says, Laphroaig Scotch is celebrating its 200th anniversary. Fact. As a friend of Laphroaig, we received 1 square foot of the turf. Bury me there. She mistakenly sent this to us instead of putting it in her will. This is, Karen, you need to let the executor of your estate know where you'd like to be buried, not us. A real Scotch single malt, worthy of the highest praise. You will be pleasantly surprised, says Terrence in Dyer, Indiana. Okay. Hey, here's another short one. William in Harlingen, Texas simply says, an angel's kiss. Take it or leave it. That's all I got to say. An angel's kiss. That's it. A simple man, William. Jason in Jericho, New York says, I was at first intrigued by the whiskey's color and then by aroma. The only way I can describe the flavor is of licking the inside of my barbecue. But I love it. Fine. If that's the only way you can describe it. Zach in Nashville, Tennessee says, like a campfire on a summer evening, listening to the crashing ocean waves. Yeah. Yeah, man. Smoking on a chocolate cigar. Like fighting someone only a quarter your size. Like fighting someone only a quarter your size, but he hits your mouth with a punch of beautiful smoke, says Andrew in St. Louis, Missouri. So a quarter your size is very small. It's not cool to fight somebody that small. And then he hits your mouth with a punch of beautiful smoke. Well, you had it coming, because that was not cool. Pick a fight on somebody a quarter your size. Colby in West Lafayette, Indiana says, perfect, like smoking a pipe of Neptune's sweat. Oh, okay, Neptune, get sweaty. Scott in Port Charlotte, Florida says, it is as solid as time itself. I don't think of time as being all that solid, but okay. Angela in St. Louis Park, Minnesota says, commanding the flavor from the floor to the sea. Commanding the flavor from the floor to the sea. Melissa in Seattle, Washington says, bright and crisp ash whiskey for a warrior. Yeah, this is a whiskey for a warrior or a dragon. Smells and tastes like an old boot filled with silage. S-I-L-A-G-E. Smells and tastes like an old boot filled with silage. I'm going to order a case, says Robert in Galloway, New Jersey. Silage, that's a new word for me. I'm circling new words. Smells like feet. Tastes like heaven, says Patton in Franklin, Tennessee. That makes me think heaven smells like feet. I don't want to go there. I'll be down there with the devil drinking Laphroaig. Imagine Neptune had a favorite mouthwash, says Gary in St. Paul, Minnesota. Why not? The most delicious, haunting, peaty, smoky, perfect glass of paint thinner you'll ever drink. I don't know, man. I've had some pretty good paint thinner. That was Taylor in Northport, New York. Anthony in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Beautiful town. Anthony says, like a wet slobber from my St. Bernard after she swam in the surf and rolled in the mud. Beautiful. St. Bernard, those are the dogs with they got little barrels under their necks. That's cute. If I had a St. Bernard, I'd put a barrel under his neck. And I'd fill it with Laphroaig. Amos says, ready for the chill of fall a bit early with some truly great single malt. Bah. Good. Joe in Portland, Oregon. Have we heard from you before, Joe? I think so. We've been to Portland. The campfire around which Rumpelstiltskin danced. Ooh. Except the miller's daughter really could spin straw into gold. This is a revision of the great old story where the miller's daughter really can spin straw into gold. But Rumpelstiltskin is still dancing around a fire. What do you got to say his name backwards? Is that how that worked? I forget. Joshua in Baton Rouge, Louisiana says, liquid relaxation and tranquility in a bottle. Matthew in Tobyhanna, Pennsylvania. I like the strong peatiness and the smoky flavor. This scotch pairs very well with my Gurkha Shaggy cigar. Gurkha Shaggy cigar. Okay. Uh-oh, it's Bob in Cobb, Connecticut again. What is it this time, Bob? A fine taste of unparalleled earth and sea blended together and aged over time, creating a heartwarming friend inside and out. A friend inside and out. That's an interesting visualization. I've got a friend inside me. Joe in Apple Valley, Minnesota says, a perfect friend stokes the embers of your soul on a dark, stormy night. There's no perfect friend. Even the best friend in the world will let you down once or twice. Rebecca in El Cerrito, California says, velvety moss and angel's breath, curling wind off of the sea. I dream of oak and smoke, water and wood. Isla has my heart. Lovely. She seems like a nice lady, Rebecca. Eugene in Yuba City, California says, drinks like a dirty old seaweed campfire. Drinks like a dirty old seaweed campfire. Kevin in San Antonio, Texas says, countries that make whiskey and play golf don't go to war against each other. Yes, that's probably true. Uh-oh, it's Bob from Cobb, Connecticut. Again, two Bobs, real close to each other. Bob says, life spark, a special heartwarming distillate of warmth glowing inside after imbibing. Distillate. Great word. Great word, Bob. Great job. Coscob. The pride of Coscob, Connecticut. Bob. Rebecca in Washougal, Connecticut. Washougal, Washington. Washougal, Washington. Crackling fire, oak and pipe smoke mingling. Warm, calm. That's like a telegram. Stop. Elaine in Honolulu, Hawaii says, like hot lava made from molten earth. That is what hot lava is, but okay. Like hot lava made from molten earth, its fiery bite and smoky peat will burn a place in your heart from the Isla Islands to the Hawaiian Islands. Yeah, that's not the first person from Honolulu to kind of say like, hey, you're an island, I'm an island. We got that in common. Let's get drinking. Ian in Clarkston, Michigan said, unbelievably peaty, undeniably bold, undoubtedly wonderful. He can't believe how peaty it is. He cannot deny how bold it is and does not doubt that it's wonderful. Okay, Ian. Liquid patience contained within, soon to be enjoyed after a quarter century of Laphroaig care. No explanation required. Ask the angels, says Chris in Tarpon Springs, Florida. I'd like an explanation. What do you mean? Liquid patience contained within, soon to be enjoyed after a quarter century of Laphroaig care. No explanation required. Ask the angels. All right. I will ask the angels, Chris in Tarpon Springs, Florida. Okay. Everything's going fine. I'm not crazy. I was going crazy, and then I went back normal. I'm doing fine. I'm going to look at my watch again. It's only been 10 minutes since I looked at my watch. Time is weird. It's not solid. It's very relative. All right. You probably think I'm going to yield the floor right about now, right? You probably think, he's made his point. Enough time has passed. He's really read a lot of these. Guy could probably step down. Well, I'm not going to.
Sir, will you yield?
No, I will not yield. Sir, I will not yield. The floor is mine, and you cannot have it. I'm going to read a lot more of these. A lot. And if 3 more of them don't have to do with dragons, I'll be disappointed. But I'm going to keep going. Here we go. Like fishing with a friend on an old pier in a small town. Endlessly familiar. An old pier in a small town. Christopher in Houston, Texas brought us that image. Shane in Arvada, Colorado says, had the first sip, smoky peat bliss. Went for sip number 2, glass got stuck in my new impressive beard. What? The glass got stuck in your beard? How did that happen? Come on, Shane. Time to shave. If glasses are getting stuck in your beard, shave it. Because that's dangerous, right? You get shards of glass in your beard. I don't like the idea. Stephen in Port Washington, New York says, the taste of a winter's night. Yeah. Edward in Falls Church, Virginia says, like a campfire by the ocean on a cool night. Listen, a lot of people have observed that it's like a campfire by the ocean on a cool night with a mist. So that's definitely something it is. Can we say right now there's a consensus that it's like a campfire by the ocean on a cool night? Edward, Falls Church, Virginia. Dylan in Tooele, Utah, Tooele. Scotland's essence in a full body, flavorful, and undeniably exquisite bottle fit for a king or queen. Enjoy Laphroaig. All right. If a honeyed biscuit loved up an angry sea cucumber, their offspring would taste exactly like this. Ew. Charles in Portland, Oregon. If a honeyed biscuit loved up an angry sea cucumber. John in New Bern, North Carolina says, if you're going to get slapped, it might as well be a big peaty slap in the face from Isla. If you're going to get slapped, and it sounds like John is, it might as well be a big peaty slap in the face from Isla. Well, I'm not going to get slapped at all, but I take your point. Lisa in Longmont, Colorado says, tastes of Scotland. Short and sweet. Yeah, it's from Scotland. Donald, Miami Shores, Florida. It tastes like liquid smoke from a burning rubber tire. Drink up. Walt in Tellico Plains, Tennessee says, if you have to ask, you wouldn't understand. Ah. Yeah, that's probably true. That sentence makes this entire exercise seem fruitless. If you have to ask what it tastes like, you're not going to understand it. So what are we talking about? Just drink it. All right. But we're going to keep going. John in Fresno, California says, coats the throat with the essence of coal, fire, and joy. Throat coat would have been a good idea for me. Edward Awendaw. No, his name is Edward, and he's from Awendaw, South Carolina. And he says, I relish drinking oak and ash with just a hint of ocean flash. Hey, I like that. Oak and ash with a hint of ocean flash. All right. Here comes James in Denver, Colorado, saying, Laphroaig 10 tastes like sucking the fluid out of a pine tree that was brought down by a forest fire. Still got some fluid. There's fluid in the pine tree, and you're sucking it out? Ugh. Cindy in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania says, it's like licking a campfire while it's still burning. Bad idea. Michael in Mulberry, Arkansas says, sea foam and damp earth, age and storms weathered, both labor and reward. Its voice is siren. This is seasoning for the soul. Beautiful. Peat, smoke, and oak in perfect balance with the scent of the sea and wrapping everything in a luscious embrace. Unforgettable. John, Muskegon, Michigan, and wrapping. John in Chicago, Illinois, tastes a bit like last night's campfire, but I like it. All right. Campfire, 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 dragon, campfire, dragon, campfire, dragon, iodine. Band-Aid. Jody in Calhoun, Missouri says, a moldering of old bones set in a cold fire, brushed with sea and air, tastes of olden and gone days when men were brusque and swarthy. A true taste of the lands. Hey, that's a great one. That's my new favorite. A moldering of old bones set in a cold fire. What's a cold fire? I don't know. That's great. Men were brusque and swarthy. Douglas in Orlando, Florida says, it's like a bog monster and a fire pit are making love in your mouth. Sorry, that was Alan in New York, New York. I don't want people to get the wrong idea about Douglas. That was Alan in New York. Said, it's like a bog monster and a fire pit are making love in your mouth. No, thank you. I've said this before. I don't want any two things making love in my mouth. I've been very clear. This is what Douglas in Orlando, Florida says. He says, it's as if someone wrapped a bagpiper in bacon, great idea so far, set him on fire, no, and made him dance naked down my esophagus. We're going to hear that again. It's as if someone wrapped a bagpiper in bacon, set him in fire, and made him dance naked down my esophagus. I like the idea of wrapping a bagpiper in bacon, but I'm not on board for the rest. Colby in Phoenix, Arizona says, I hated scotch until I tried your bottled benzoin campfire. Now it's all I drink. Hey, mix it up with some water. Paul in Plymouth, Minnesota says, perfect on a rainy morning at the cabin. Sure. Karen in Oviedo, Florida, Oviedo, Florida, says, the essence of a forest captured in a bottle, Laphroaig triple wood. Again, great, put it on the bottle. The taste of an open fire pit, fueled by peat, doused by the sea that warms the soul, says Andrew in Nashua, New Hampshire. Joseph in Providence, Rhode Island says, it makes my gums tingle in the most delightful way. You might want to see a dentist. Oh, here we got some, this is some pop culture references right here. If you're in the mood for some pop culture references. Chuck Norris performing Don Quixote while fighting Jet Li, says Jeffrey in Dallas, Texas. Chuck Norris performing the role of Don Quixote in the opera, possibly, while fighting Jet Li. I'd like to see that. I think Jet Li would win that fight. Because Chuck Norris is distracted by the duties of having to perform the role of Don Quixote in an opera. Pat in Springfield, Illinois says, Isla's greatest export and most glorious gift to the world. Yeah, that's probably true. Gregory in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania says, other single malts are weaklings compared to you. Let's not get a single malt fight brewing. Jay in Bradenton, Florida says, what a wonder to behold, to drink slowly, the ultimate slow sip, to bring the day home to the most deserving. feel like we're missing a word there, to the most deserving. Eric in Lockport, Illinois says, the greatness of the taste is second only to the greatness of the friendship shared. Oh, that's nice. Must have drank it with friends. Scott in Camarillo, California says, smoked baby back ribs and smoky Laphroaig scotch. Cold day comfort, anytime gift. Yeah, I'll accept that gift anytime. Arthur in Cresskill, New Jersey says, like the first kiss of a new love, lingering long after it ends, then slap, the sea air hits you, but you remember the kiss. Chad in Newburgh, Missouri says, smooth beginning with a pleasant, complex middle, then a smoky finish to battling a 1,000-acre wildfire. I don't fully understand it. Smooth beginning with a pleasant, complex middle. That's what I feel I have. And then a smoky finish to battling a 1,000-acre wildfire. I think is the way that's meant to be read. That was Chad in Newburgh, Missouri. Craig in Portland, Oregon says, this is something in your medicine cabinet that has caught fire and smoldered for days on end. And that, my friend, believe it or not, is a very good thing. Craig in Portland, Oregon. I believe it. I believe that's a good thing. No doubt about it. Kyle from Boston, New Hampshire says, Laphroaig is like gargling a liquid campfire cocktail that leaves you like a fire-breathing dragon. Hey, but you know what, Kyle? Speaking of cocktails, I think this might be just the right time to share a great recipe with you. The Laphroaig Select Penicillin is what it is called. But first, let's have a little history lesson about this. The penicillin cocktail is a heady concoction created by bartender Sam Ross in 2005 when he was working at one of New York's most influential speakeasy bars. Sam's original penicillin recipe is a brilliant combination of citrus and ginger-infused honey syrup topped with a smoky float of richly peated Laphroaig single malt Scotch whiskey. The tart acidity, Kyle, of the lemon juice and zesty sweetness of the honey ginger syrup balances out the potent peat of that infamous Laphroaig. However, Laphroaig has its own spin on Mr. Ross's concoction. It's an even headier creation that uses a full dose of Laphroaig Select and packs an even peatier punch for those who are more adventurous. This version is called the Laphroaig Select Fully Smoked Penicillin. To make one for yourself, you're going to need 2 parts Laphroaig single malt Scotch whiskey. That's what I have here. I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. Ooh, yes. Smells like Band-Aids and dragons. 3/4 part fresh lemon juice. Wonderful. And finally, this is the 3/4 part honey ginger syrup. Putting that all in here together. I'm going to combine that with some ice. A little bit of ice. And one more piece of ice. Very good. And I was about to put that on there. That's not how that works. Here. This is better. Okay. Now I'm going to vigorously shake this. Pretty vigorous. So we imbue all of the rich flavors together. I think that's pretty good. And then you strain it into a rocks glass, but you got to have some ice in there. Put some ice in there first. Me, I like to have the ice in there first. And then the drink. Strain it in there. Yes, see that? And then you enjoy your peaty elixir. Now, unfortunately, filibuster rules only allow water or milk, so I can't really drink this. I'm going to have to enjoy this a little bit later. Water and milk. Those are the only things I can drink for the entire length of this filibuster. Why milk? Water, I understand. Milk is strange. All right, here we go. We're back in. That was fun. Take a little break for a recipe. Enjoyable. Try that one at home. Okay. Woo! Back in. Rob in Nashville, Tennessee says, not the only reason that I want to go to Scotland, but a damn good reason. Laphroaig is. What's the other reason? Loch Ness Monster hunting. I'm going to guess. Maybe he wants to wrap a bagpiper in bacon. That might be part of the reason he's headed to Scotland. Zachary in Bryant, Arkansas says, like drinking a campfire. Gary in Corona, California says, smoky, earthy, clean. This is the first person who said clean Most people seem to think it's dirty. Smoky, earthy, clean. Smoky, earthy, clean lingers in the mind, rests on the palate. Lingers in the mind. Here's Andrew in Antioch, California saying, smoky, like your house burned down, and you filtered the wet ashes kind of smoky. Love it or hate it. Andrew invites us to either love it or hate it. Thanks, Andrew. Tom in Crystal River, Florida says, mossy, exploding flavor giant. Oh, that sounds scary, an exploding flavor giant motorcycle. Stephen in Charles City, Iowa says, the mix of fire and peat makes this the nectar of life. Yeah. Aaron in Los Angeles, California says, a rich peaty swill will set in motion a sea salt swept Isla marsh by the ocean. A rich peaty swill will set in motion a sea salt swept Isla marsh by the ocean. Setting it in motion. Motion and ocean. Oh, is it a poem? A rich peaty swill will set in motion a sea salt swept Isla marsh by the ocean. Helen in Seattle, Washington says, the warm, slow burn of embers caressing your throat on a cool January evening. See, I don't think embers would caress your throat. But that's just me. Dana in Topeka, Kansas says, fantastic. It's like a night around a bonfire in every glass. Embrace the peat. Every glass is another night around a bonfire. Kevin in Los Alamos, New Mexico says, it is a gem among all scotches. Earthy, apples, and adventure. The word apples is just sitting there. Just pop the word apples in. You can't do that. You can't just pop the word apples into a sentence. Jean in Cape Coral, Florida says, musky, dark, breathtakingly rich, one heck of a scotch. Hang on! She ends her comments with, hang on! Was she dictating this to someone while driving on a treacherous road? Possibly. Edgar in Savannah, Georgia says, whiskey is good. Scotch whiskey is better. Laphroaig is my ancestors slipping me a smoky, peaty reminder of my roots. Yeah. Yuck! Oh, that was Edgar in Savannah, Georgia. This next one starts, yuck! It has the aftertaste of a freshly doused campfire. And he did not end with, but I love it, and I can't get enough. Pass me another glass, as a lot of people seem to after they insult Laphroaig. That was Neil in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin. Taylor in Austin, Texas says, it's okay, I'll finish it for you. Imagining a conversation in which some person says, I don't want to finish it. Eileen in Sparks, Maryland says, a dram of Laphroaig is akin to enjoying the presence and touch of a warm, exciting, memorable woman. I cannot get enough. That was Eileen in Sparks, Maryland. Michael, Willow Street, Pennsylvania. We've been there before. Michael says, some men are born in the wrong century. Sad. I believe I was born on the wrong continent. Some men are born in the wrong century. I believe I was born on the wrong continent. Listen, that's an easier problem to fix. If you were born in the wrong century, forget it. There's nothing you can do about it. Born on the wrong continent, book a flight. Patrick in Pasadena, California says, drowning in an 86 proof sea, waves streaming down your briar pipe snorkel? Briar pipe snorkel. I never heard of a briar pipe snorkel before. I'm circling it. I'm circling the things I don't know. I'm learning. Richard in Duluth, Georgia says, a little touch of heaven here on earth, angel's breath. I think we've heard that comment before. That's a double. Shane in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania says, pure and unique character in a glass, perfect for every sincere moment life offers, but none of the insincere ones, to be clear. Brian in Seattle, Washington says, grinning into the spray from a stormy sea while you reel in a salmon and light fireworks. What? Grinning into the spray from a stormy sea while you reel in a salmon. Okay. Now I got it. I was picturing someone trying to reel in a salmon. Grinning into the spray from a stormy sea while you reel in a salmon and light fireworks. You're too busy. We're reeling the salmon first and then light the fireworks. Please. Unique, peaty, and smoky. It grows on you. Good medicine, says Robert in Southbury, Connecticut. Once again, it is not medicine, just to be totally clear. This is not a medicine. Paul in Buffalo Grove, Illinois says, a big old stinky good evening kiss that says I love you. Stinky, huh? Dan in Hallsville, Texas says, like kissing your first love while fighting a forest fire. Again, take care of one of these things first. Don't try to do too many things at once. Don't try to reel in a fish and light a firework. That's a terrible idea. And the kissing can wait till after you're done fighting the forest fire. Weston in Tempe, Arizona says, a sweet, smoky elixir of ocean salt and gasoline, wave after wave of sheer wonder. Yeah. It's like sucking on a campfire, says Brian in Rowlett, Texas. How do you suck on a campfire? I'll have to go down to Rowlett, Texas to find out. John in New Bern, North Carolina, we've been there before, says, the heart and soul of Isla. I think I've heard that one before. Christian in Fremont, California says, my mouth is set aflame with a deep burning fire, and the taste of ash and salt is delightful. Aaron in Mount Kisco, New York. Buddy, that's where I was born. No joke. Mount Kisco, Westchester General Hospital. Oh, they treat you fine over there. Aaron in Mount Kisco, New York says, peat of the earth, salt of the wind, smoke of the fire, and a wee bit of wood. Interesting. That's how many of these we've read. We've read one from the town where I was born, the town where I grew up, and the town where I went to college. It's getting weird. Smoking a fine hand-rolled cigar while riding a lion into battle. Christopher, Dallas, Texas. I'm sure it is impressive and terrifying to your enemies to see you ride into battle on a lion, but a horse is a lot smarter. Samuel in Corona, California says, passion, piety, pleasure, perfection. Pa, 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 pa. David in North St. Paul, Minnesota says, bliss in a bottle, another short one. Carrie in Los Gatos, California, which is beautiful, says, it's like burying your face in Scotland, only instead of raw earth, you get this smoky sip of golden amazing. Wow. Bury my face in Scotland. June in Russell, Ohio says, I just belched a peat bog. Keep it to yourself, June. Dan in Farmington, Connecticut says, a smoky, mysterious detective thriller. Murder with a knockout punch and a happy ending. Case solved. Sounds like a good book. Like an old sailor's best boot wrapped in seaweed and tar, then set on fire in the best possible way. His best boot. Wow. Michael in Dayton, Texas says, just to sip is to taste the nectar of the gods, smooth and peaty. Drinking magic swamp water in the middle of a forest fire. Did I mention it's magic? Another, please. Curtis in Bedford, Texas. Yes, you did mention it's magic. Easy enough to just go look back up at what you already wrote. Don't have to ask. The only time I've ever said, I can taste seaweed and meant it as a compliment. Did I have a tick sheet for seaweed or just iodine and Band-Aids? Yeah, just iodine and Band-Aids. We're hearing a lot about seaweed. La, 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 la. Turning pages. That was Brandon in Durham, North Carolina. Thank you, Brandon. Bobby in Rockville, Maryland. We've heard from you before, Bob. Imagine building a large wooden ship, setting sail around the world, then making a huge bonfire from the ship body and drinking it. I was able to imagine all of the other things, believe it or not. I was with you until I drank a fire. Building a large wooden ship, I can imagine it. It would be hard. Setting sail around the world, so hard. Making a huge bonfire from the ship, why? Well, I guess I made it all the way around the world. I don't need it anymore. And then you drank the fire. Oh, I can't do that. Scott in Lawrenceville, Georgia says, like tasting a bite straight out of the bog. Nope, like taking a bite straight out of the bog. One cannot simply explain the satisfaction and bliss that washes over you and warms your soul, says Matt in Blaine, Minnesota. But thanks for taking a shot, Matt. Hey, the word bliss is coming up a lot. Here's another Matt, but he goes by Matthew in Cambridge, Massachusetts, who says, so smoky, you'll think you're at your great-grandfather's prom night. What? Is that the smokiest thing you can think of? Your great-grandfather's prom night? I guess because people smoked in those days? Is that what you're saying? Fine. I would not want to go to my great-grandfather's prom night. That would be creepy. Okay. A barley shipwreck set ablaze amongst the shore's jagged rocks and peat, strained through a kilt and barreled, says Mark in Winsted, Connecticut. Hey, we're back in Honolulu, Hawaii, hearing from Nathan, who says, a healing medicinal elixir to assuage even the heartiest of ailments. Once again, it's not a medicine. No matter what your ailment is, don't rely on this whiskey to solve it. Nathan in Honolulu. Tim in Kent, Washington says, drink this to remember the best of times and forget the worst of times. Okay. Like my grandfather's prom night. I'll drink to forget that. Josh in Chattanooga, Tennessee says, it's like they dug up the Ark of the Covenant and made it into a heavenly drink. Hey, we talked about that before with the melting faces and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Remember that? They had dug up the Ark of the Covenant and they opened it and their faces melted. So don't do that. Paul in Oakdale, Connecticut says, the smell burnt my nose hairs. The liquid burned my gullet. I would run into a burning house to save my Laphroaig. I would run into a burning house to never hear the word gullet again. Here's my new favorite. This is from Pierre in Brooklyn, New York. This is the best one. Ready? Pierre in Brooklyn, New York says, just drink it. That's it. That's my new favorite one. That one really sums it up. Just drink it. Just drink it. Just drink it. No, Pierre, we're going to keep talking about it for a while longer. The perfect balance of sweet peat served neat, says Lewis in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Matthew in Seattle, Washington, who I believe we've heard from before, says, it's a whiskey that you drink because it's unique, because you love it, and because Dad drank it. Sure. The taste of profound legacy wrapped in a salty kilt and soaked in the boggy nation of 10,000 stomping peat. What? The taste of profound legacy wrapped in a salty kilt and soaked in the boggy nation of 10,000 stomping peat. Matt in Tustin, California. Matt, you just broke my brain because I don't know what 10,000 stomping peat could mean. Joel in Bristol, Connecticut says, a unique taste. It must be acquired. Try it with truly rare beef. A recommendation, a food pairing, truly rare beef. Noel in Memphis, Tennessee says, a symphony fashioned from a balance of nature's best and man's mastery. Fan-freaking-tastic. Seaweed, burning tires, gasoline, new plastic, says Gabriel in Sonora, California. Don't settle for old plastic. William in Fort Knox, Kentucky says, 1, smell the cork. 2, smell the bottle. 3, pour and smell. 4, sip and savor. The only scotch I smell as much as I drink. And that is saying something. 4 steps from William in Fort Knox, Kentucky. Carl in St. Anne, Missouri says, the best smooth, peaty, smoky taste of the sea heaven ever put in a glass. John in Hockerson, Delaware says, she won't kiss me without Laphroaig on my lips. Now that's very different from some of the other people we've heard. We heard from a guy that said, my wife won't kiss me after I've been drinking this. This seems like a better relationship to me, in my opinion. She won't kiss me without Laphroaig on my lips. Actually, that's also unreasonable. All right. A bull shark whiskey. Catch bull shark. Incinerate shark. Mud, seaweed, and chalk. Douse with a briny sea. Drip turpentine, iodine, and alcohol through the ashes. Drink. That's like random word generation, isn't it? Isn't it like refrigerator magnet poetry? But in a good way. John in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania says, the beast Scotland smoked, aged, and bottled. Damn unique. The Islay malt. Oh. The beast Scotland smoked, aged, and bottled. Is that the Loch Ness Monster? Was the Loch Ness Monster caught, smoked, aged, and bottled? I hope not. Or was it a dragon? I like being punched in the mouth by a wise bearded wizard. Oh, that's not what it says. It says, it's like being punched in the mouth by a wise bearded lizard. No, not lizard. I am losing it. Wizard. It's like being punched in the mouth by a wise bearded wizard. It took 3 tries to say JB's one right. He's from Madison, Wisconsin. Helen in Seattle, Washington says, the scent of peat smoke drifting across a beach on a summer breeze. A bit of the bog in every sip is what Patrick of Ontario, California has to say about drinking Laphroaig. Woo! Okay, we've been at this a long time. Long ago, 3 Scottish dragons met for a sip of spring water and fell into a peaty bog. Their breath is in this bottle, says Samuel in Indianapolis, Indiana. 3 Scottish dragons. That's a true story. It's like having a bonfire in a damp peat bog while being sprayed in the face by the Atlantic, then eating the cinders. Amazing, says Brent in Hampstead, North Carolina. That's what it's like for Brent. Just one perfectly aged and savory mouthful, and you will be wearing a kilt and playing bagpipes and wondering why you ever drank anything else, says Mike in Marietta, Georgia. No word as to whether you'll be wrapped in bacon. Dell in Wichita Falls, Texas says, smoke gets in your mouth in a good kind of a way. Try it twice. Try it twice. That's all he asks of you. Dell, the merriment of red rubber balls dancing on your tongue, says Terry in Stillwater, Minnesota. Red, specifically red. Laphroaig, the single simplest medicine, says Chris in Maryland. It's not medicine. Todd in Mankato, Minnesota. Hey, isn't that where the Little House on the Prairie family lived? I know a few things. Taste the smoking brakes of a big truck careening down the side of a mountain. Oh, yummy. When they say smoky, they aren't blowing smoke. It takes a while to adjust. A little water, a little ice, and the taste will stand apart. Mark in Cincinnati, Ohio. Someone earlier was very dismissive of the idea of adding ice. Point, counterpoint. Eileen in Sparks, Maryland. Bring out the real you in enjoying a smoky flavor that will never be forgotten. Experience life. Jacob in El Dorado, Arkansas says, I'm an optimist. However, the glass or bottle is only half empty when drinking Laphroaig. So when the glass of Laphroaig is at the halfway point, he becomes a pessimist. Normally he's an optimist, but Laphroaig, okay. Larry in Columbus, Ohio says, whoo, what's that smell? Scotch, ha 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 ha. That's what Larry wrote, 4 ha's. Brennan in Baltimore, Maryland says, it, in all respects, is the whiskey equivalent of bacon. Ooh, high praise. Mark in Gilbert, Arizona says, spice and honey kick your bum, then leather, nuts, and iodine envelop you with the ephemeral sense of ocean spray and wisps of smoke. That was Mark in Gilbert, Arizona. Kick your bum. Andrew in Lafayette, California says, fire, water, and dirt, the finest complement to the air itself. Mike in Chicago, Illinois, campfire delight with enough iodine to keep the germs away. How much iodine is that? Probably a lot. Salt spray in your face, followed by a smile, says Thomas in Southampton, Pennsylvania. Unexpected complex swirl of flavors, warm in the pit of my stomach. You didn't make enough, says Thomas in Westland, Oregon. Didn't make enough, what, money? Sorry, man. Unexpected complex swirl of flavors, warm in the pit of my stomach. You didn't make enough. Brian in Bismarck, North Dakota, which is not the capital of North Dakota, says, creative welcome to planet Earthy. What? Creative welcome to planet Earthy? I think either I'm going crazy or these are getting crazier, because that's creative welcome to planet Earthy. There still be dragons. Taste the essence of Isla life. Sea, grass, peat, hearth smoke, standing barley, salt spray, cold wind, warm hearts. Mark, Seven Valleys, Pennsylvania. Standing barley. What are you doing, standing barley? Oh, I'm standing barley this week. Jim, Fairfax, Virginia says, proof that God loves us and wants us to be happy. I like that. William in Houston, Texas says, "'Tis peach fire's essence of scotch, the lingering kiss of Laphroaig." I think that's our second "tis." Rick in San Antonio, Texas says, "Retire your thoughts on a glass of Laphroaig. Smell the earth, taste the ground of the world you are in. Take into account everything till now and sip again." I'm supposed to retire my thoughts and take into account everything till now? Come on, Rick. John in Millersville, Maryland says, "My taste is simple. Heavy peat with a solid bite followed by contentment." Yeah. Jeremiah, Long Beach, California. "The leather belt that bites nostalgia in a bottle. A golden symphony of peat, pepper, and charred wood. And after you won't forget. A leather belt that bites nostalgia in a bottle." What? Belts don't bite. Andy in Swarthmore, Pennsylvania. "A single malt haiku." Oh, this is an actual haiku. I have speculated that some of our others have been haikus. This one is labeled as such. A single malt haiku. "Crystal clear water roaming the Scottish lowlands from the peat Laphroaig." Is that a haiku? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, sorry, it is. "Crystal clear water roaming the Scottish lowlands from the peat Laphroaig." Beautiful, Andy in Swarthmore, Pennsylvania. Thanks for telling us it was a haiku, and instead of leaving us to our devices to figure out whether it was. "There's a barbecue in my mouth," says Matthew in Boston, Massachusetts. Andrew in Londonderry, New Hampshire says, "Smooth, luscious, and peaty. She warms the dram and your soul. An old friend we toast." That could also be a haiku. I don't know. "My heart's afire lit with sweet caress." Deb in Woodland, California. Sweet smoke squirt kissing a bonfire through candy cane lips, a taste of home in each glass. Sweet smoke squirt kissing a bonfire through candy cane lips, a taste of home in each glass. That's Ewan in Waukesha, Wisconsin, reminding me that there is a candy desk here. There's a desk full of candy. I forgot about that. This is one of the very few treats that a filibustering person is allowed to enjoy. This is one of the rules of filibustering. You can have water, you can have milk, or you can have candy from this desk. Milk is the thing that doesn't belong on that list. What was that? The Dairy Council pushed that through? Is that what happened? Big Dairy saying, put milk on the list of things a filibustering person can. Anyway, yeah, that's going to make a big difference here in the home stretch. Delicious candy. Would it be good or bad if I rumpled this the entire time? Is that good for sound? That's good for sound. Okay.
Sir, will you yield?
I will not yield now that I've got candy in my lips. Why would I yield? I am going on. I'm not even tired. I'm just losing my mind. And a little tired. But here we go. I'm going to keep going. I will not yield. Bango. Hey, no, I'm not really going to do that, but it's fun to think I might. Well, that was Ewan in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Thanks, Ewan, for the reminder of candy. God, that's good. Okay. Todd in Seattle, Washington. I can't tell you the difference that this candy is making to my general worldview right now. It's delicious. A pour, a whiff, two friends, closed eyes and a smile, knowing this moment exists only there at the table between the two of them. Todd in Seattle, Washington. That's my new favorite. I don't know if it's the candy talking. Could be, but I like that one. You have dethroned Just Drink It. Oh, I don't know. Just Drink It is really good. Just drink it. I'm ready for that one. Pierre in Brooklyn, New York. Oh, just drink it. All right, but that's a good one too. Glenn in Gore, Oklahoma says, smooth, Pete's the bomb, melts on your mouth, keeps on coming, encourages a smile, visions of home, still waters run deep. Ah, the finish. Still waters run deep. Just, what's that doing in there? Encourages a smile. Thanks, Glenn. It tastes like Christmas when I was a kid, especially the train set. Sam, Seattle, Washington. That one works. That just works. It works. It's a good joke. It works. Here's mead in Houston, Texas. The smell tells you that you need to prepare yourself. The taste says it is going to be a wild ride. So the taste also tells you to prepare yourself. Mike in Bethesda, Maryland says, it's like waking up in a bag of peat moss without the bag. So just waking up with peat moss? All right, Mike. Kevin in Normal, Illinois. That is such a fun name of a town. Medicinal nose, fruity, flowery sea, fire, and smoke. Like sitting by a fire after being soaked by a Scottish storm. Wonderful. Medicinal nose. Hey, here comes a word. Medicinal iodine. Get our iodine is way in the lead over Band-Aid. Medicinal iodine, salt and sweet licorice and vanilla, muscular. Punch to the taste buds. Not many finer or more savory, says Ron in Cannonsburg, Pennsylvania. Hey, he punched me in the taste buds. PD in Independence, Kansas says, like drinking a forgotten steak, crusty and burnt, at the creek camp in the deep timber on an autumn night. What could be sadder than a forgotten steak? Frank in Silver Spring, Maryland. Just one spring? Perfection. How utterly outstanding it must be if you love this whiskey and can't pronounce it. How utterly outstanding it must be. Yeah, that's rough. If you love a thing and you don't know how to say it, how do you ask for it? So it's Laphroaig. Smell and taste the campfire in the comforts of home, sitting in your favorite lounge chair, says Bruce in Wallingford, Connecticut. Okay, Bruce, I will. Peat dreams, like wishing for a kick in the head, says Marcy in Los Angeles, California. Another kick in the head. We've been kicked in the face, punched in the taste buds, slapped in the face by a cartoon whale, smoking a cigar. It's been a violent day. This was another kick in the head. So much kicking and slapping. Not to mention being burned alive. So wonderful. Oh, and drowned slowly. You remember that? Someone was drowned slowly in these pages. Horrible. So wonderful. The main reason I visited Scotland. Takes me there every time I have a dram. So grateful it exists. Thank you, says Donna in Dumont, Colorado. Donna, you're welcome. My dogs come, sit, and stay. For bacon, I do the same, except for Laphroaig. People really want to talk about bacon. That's something I've learned. My dogs come, sit, and stay. For bacon, I do the same, except for Laphroaig. Not for bacon, for Laphroaig. I come, sit, and stay for Laphroaig, says Jeff in Raleigh, North Carolina. Hey, that bacon, is it wrapped around a bagpiper? When I drink Laphroaig 10, I take the sea, peat, air, earth, water of Isla into me forever, says William in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Charred rag from an extinct volcano tainting my palate. Oh, yes, says Austin in Littleton, Colorado. A charred rag from an extinct volcano. So that must have been charred a long time ago. Tainting my palate. But then, oh, yes. This is a person whose name is Cedar in Alexandria, Virginia. A vegetarian's answer to a life without bacon. Yet another mention of bacon. People have bacon on the mind. Bacon is just about edging out Band-Aids, believe it or not. Really sneaking up a real dark horse, bacon. Paul in Roseville, Michigan says, it's like drinking the ashes of a bonfire that was extinguished with a musty old blanket soaked in seawater. That nicely encapsulates a lot of what we've heard from other folks right there. That kind of sums it up. Sipping my medicine through an old mud-caked, sun-drenched garden hose, says Fred in Miamisburg, Ohio. Oh, here's another guy talking about his wife. Mike in Matthews, North Carolina. My wife drinks everything I bring home, except the peaty glory, the intense sip, the lasting smile that is Laphroaig. It is all mine. All right. Thirsty wife. Did I tell you his name? It's important that we tell who's saying these things. Yeah, that was Mike in Matthews, North Carolina. He's got that thirsty wife. The preferred evening nip while I'm at sea, says Rand, Sausalito, California. We've heard from some sailors today, haven't we? This fella is occasionally at sea. Chris in Richmond, Virginia says, the fire in my guts, born of sea, sky, and earth, anchors my soul, stills my spirit, cools my mind, burn again. I see, this is another arsonist, right? That's what he's saying there at the end, burn again. He's going to go start another fire. Come on, Chris. Okay, this one is short and sweet. Alex in Miami, Florida says, a bit too peaty. A bit too peaty. There's no doubt that this is peaty. That is not in dispute. Brian in Downington, Pennsylvania says, like breathing the smoke from an oak fire on the beach. Yeah. Joshua in San Diego, California says, crisp and deep and dark and biting, remembrance of ages past and reminding of world to come. We've heard this sentiment once before. Someone saying, it puts me in mind of the past and the future. Enters with smoke, that was Joshua in San Diego, California, by the way. Enters with smoke, hits you with the sweet, finishes with nice char. Huh? Enters with smoke, hits you with the sweet, finishes with nice char, says Jay in Houston, Texas. Hey, nice char. All the cathartic smokiness of a campfire without the mosquitoes, says Paul in Warren, Michigan. Buddy, how about those mosquitoes and the West Nile and the Zika? I hear you, buddy. I hear you. Cathartic smokiness of a campfire? Christopher in Little Rock, Arkansas says, like licking an ashtray, but in a good way. Hey, we haven't had a but in a good way in a while. But I love it. Forest fire smoke. A lot of forest fires. Hey, those are serious, by the way. Forest fire smoke. Hawaiian sea spray. Wet burlap. Honeyed briny peat moss. Chalky. The one and only, the medicine I need, says Kurt in Volcano, Hawaii. Is that an extinct volcano? Got any charred rags lying around? You could get together with the other guy. Sharpie marker, Pete, says Adam in Nixa, Missouri. Sharpie marker, Pete. Bah, bah, bah. Mark in Alameda, California says, from under what rock did that frog, which currently calmly rests upon my tongue, crawl? Tastes terrific. May I die there? What? Where? What are you talking about? You can die anywhere you want, honestly, Mark. Nobody's going to quibble. From under what rock did that frog, which currently calmly rests upon my tongue, crawl? Tastes terrific. May I die there? The idea of asking someone's permission to die in a specific place is disturbing. Blah, blah, blah. Perfect for an evening with friends, sitting around a fire. Cool breeze blowing the scent off the glass, bringing the full flavor to the night air, says James in Parkville, Maryland. I read that, but I didn't listen to myself, just so you know. Laphroaig, like drinking from an ashtray full of cigarette butts soaked in kerosene. Booyah, says Mark in South Burlington, Vermont. Hey, that's not an appropriate time to say booyah. It just isn't. Talking about an ashtray full of cigarette butts soaked in kerosene. It's not a booyah situation. It's like licking a campfire, says John in New York, New York. John, we've heard from you before. I swear we have. Oh, here's another word that we've met one other time. A great one. It's like an affectionate balrog, says Matthew in Davis, California. An affectionate balrog. I'm going to have to look that word up. I do not know what a balrog is. John in New Bern, North Carolina, heard from you before. What happens when a salt lick and seaweed fall into a campfire? I don't know what. Laphroaig appears to be the implied answer. Remember ancient rain, aged wood, they remember them together. Ooh, I like that. Hey, is that a haiku? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nope. Remember ancient rain, aged wood, they remember them together. That's from Andrew in Redmond, Washington. Craig in Pleasant Hill, California. Ooh, they've got a Pleasant Hill out there. It's not great. It's pleasant. A wall of complex big flavors with a satisfying finish. Accomplish great feats with the power of peat. Huh. Joe in Andover, Kansas says, tastes like the smoldering look given by the dark-eyed beauty to the film noir Private Eye. Yeah. Tastes like the smoldering look given by the dark-eyed beauty to the film noir Private Eye. Cool. That was Joe in Andover, Kansas. Real good. Justin in New Paltz, New York. Hey, I've been there. Life is too short for bad whiskey, says Justin in New Paltz, New York. Yes, that's probably true. Don't drink the bad stuff, drink the good stuff. James in Lilburn, Georgia says, so dram good, it'll make your kilt fly up. Dram good. I think that's the third or fourth iteration of that particular play on words, and I still like it. It's like a leather boot and an oak tree got it on over a bonfire. Travis in Pensacola, Florida. A leather tree, a leather boot, and an oak tree getting it on. Kevin in Lansing, Kansas says, life is too short for just any whiskey. Laphroaig, you deserve it. Again, some of these people are trying to write ad copy, and that's fine. And he should get together with Justin in New Paltz, New York, who says life is too short for bad whiskey. Life is too short for just any whiskey. Laphroaig, you deserve it. Kevin, Lansing, Michigan, Kansas. Patrick in Hanover, Pennsylvania says, rushing in both pulse and speed, I unwrap the bottle, pull the cork, and breathe deep. I am transported to the seaside where peat fires burn. Take a dram and come with. Okay, Patrick, I will. A house of peat, ablaze and put out with whiskey. Simply perfection. Not for the person that lives in the house made of peat. Not perfect for them. Christopher in Berkeley, California. That person is like, what happened to my house? Why'd you put it out with whiskey? Warren in St. John, Indiana says, nectar of the gods will hammer you with peat. Oh. Who's the guy? Thor. Thor had the hammer. Got it. Larkin in Charlotte, North Carolina says, enjoyed most by Vikings and lumberjacks. That's not true. I don't think. All kinds of people like this. Nick in San Jose, California says, like chewing on the charcoal leftovers of a campfire made from 1,000-year-old bog oak with a hint of old saddle leather. Yeah, that sounds good. Plus a Band-Aid and some iodine in a hospital that's burned down, right? Corey in South Boston, Massachusetts says, like tasting the sea during a hurricane and smelling a forest fire all around you, my absolute favorite. You would think that a hurricane would put out a forest fire. Corey. Opening a bottle is like opening your front door. Welcome home. Yeah. That was Albert in Slidell, Louisiana. The smoke of an early evening campfire, the sweet, salty taste of low country oysters, the long, smooth, clean finish of peat. Larry, Somerville, South Carolina. That's a nice one. John in New Bern, North Carolina. John, you're catching up to, who was the other one? Oh, Bob in Cobb, Connecticut. John says, the best of Isla is in this bottle. Yeah. Robert in Sherman Oaks, California says, it's like making out with a well-oaked octopus. Smoked in peat bog pipe. Glorious. What? It's like making it, first of all, making out with an octopus is image enough. You can stop there. Well-oaked? The octopus has been well-oaked? How do you oak an octopus? Smoking a peat bog pipe. Who's smoking the pipe? The octopus? Regardless, this is described as glorious. It's like making out with a well-oaked octopus, smoking a peat bog pipe. Glorious, says Robert in Sherman Oaks, California. I like that octopus, but he could have been better oaked. Taryn in New York, says, tastes of remorse for actions not taken, decisions not made, and regrets unresolved, and second chances to make things right. Taryn, that's deep. Sandy in Newton, New Jersey says, tastes like they bottled the best parts of a campfire. Yep. Christopher in Ann Arbor, Michigan says, a bonfire of old tires soaked in turpentine and demon spawn that strips tongues to their skivvies. Nectar of the bloody gods. Christopher in Ann Arbor, Michigan says that. Might be a good time to remind you of Pierre in Brooklyn. Just drink it. Just drink it. He's right. Like French kissing a campfire on the first date, says Brad in Glen Burnie, Maryland. I hate to say it, but that campfire sounds easy. French kissing on the first date. Ernesto in St. Paul, Minnesota says, sipping Laphroaig, I feel Scotland reach out to slap me with peat and say, that's what history tastes like, boy. The whole nation of Scotland slapping you in the face. Rude. Like drinking delicious barbecue ashes. Peat me, says Jeff in Anaheim, California. See, Rick? There's lots of normal ways to talk about this. Rainy in New York, New York says, I like my whiskey like I like my men. Oh, you too? Somebody else has said that. I like my whiskey like I like my men. Tall, strong, only wearing a napkin. That's not a thing men do. Men don't only wear napkins. It's unusual. Hey, we've been at this a long time. Come on, dragons. Haven't had a dragon in a while. It's like a slap in the nose with a burnt stick. Then you sip and realize you're getting older because you like the taste of a used ashtray, says Jason in Vista, California. That's a sure sign you're getting older. Hey, I like the taste of a used ashtray. How old am I? Dean in Burlington, New Jersey says, wonderful and pleasant like chewing on a burnt stick. Ryan in Memphis, Tennessee says, if it weren't for Pete, we'd have no cause for chest hair, and a gentleman cannot abide that. Okay. I'm not going to comment on that. I'm going to let that stand for itself. Philip in Los Angeles, California says, finely crafted to taste like a barrel coated in gasoline. Every sip is magic. I can't get enough. Andrew in St. Louis, Missouri says, how do you pronounce this? Cardius, Cardies, Cargus? It doesn't matter because the sound doesn't change the amazingness. I think it's pronounced Cargus, but as you say, it doesn't matter. Why are you asking? Why are you asking a thing that doesn't matter? Don't waste my time, Andrew. I got to get back to talking about, what if you wrapped a dragon in bacon? Brendan in Beacon, New York says, you liquefied the medicine cabinet and then set it on fire. Somebody else said that, right? James in Chicago, Illinois says, it smells like roadside tar that's been dipped in sugar and baked, but it tastes like a campfire on a cool fall evening. Fine. Joseph in New York, New York says, like licking the bottom of a football cleat, but you know, in a good way. This is another guy who's been hanging around the supply closet of an athletic team, and we'd want to know why. Joseph, get your hands off the football cleats. Stop licking the sports equipment. Hey, Daphne in Columbus, Ohio. I like that name. Reminds me of my grandparents' swamp, which is the largest leatherleaf bog in Ohio. Don't come here to brag about your grandparents' swamp. This is not the place. Reminds me of my grandparents' swamp. Your grandparents have a swamp? I'm listening. Which is the largest leatherleaf bog in Ohio. Well, we got to check it out. Like licking the inside of a chimney, either you will hate it or love it, says Craig in Sacramento, California. I think I know how most people would feel. A wild, immersive thrill ride. You better buckle up, says Robert in Libertyville, Illinois. I will. George in Brookfield, Illinois, not far from Libertyville, probably. I have no idea. Says, it is like drinking the ham juice of a finely smoked pig. Spectacular. Oh, ham juice. We had an 80-year ham fire alluded to earlier in the day, and now we're on to ham juice. Ham juice. Samantha in Rockville, Maryland says, like riding a rusty toolbox to the edges of space and time. Like riding a rusty toolbox. All right. Joe in Andover, Kansas, we've met you before. He says, a flavor hand-carved from an ancient oak that was once set afire by a bolt of lightning. Will in Seattle, Washington says, a wonderfully smoky burst of flavor with a mildly salty aftertaste. Smooth and easy. Some people fear fire and brimstone. They have yet to taste the unique little smoky patch of heaven that is Laphroaig. Devilishly good, says Michael in Lexington, South Carolina. This one is from Tom in Seattle, Washington. He says, tight, smooth, delicate, and refreshing, like a cool breeze on a summer evening. Tight and smooth, huh? Anna in Mentor, Ohio says, smells like arson. Tastes like old money. Feels like a storm rolling in. Oh, I like that. But that's a serious accusation, saying something smells like arson. You better be able to back it up with some evidence, Anna. Robert in Petoskey, Michigan says, so peaty you can drink it with a knife and fork. You can try. Michael in Baton Rouge, Louisiana says, it's sort of like drinking your favorite pair of work boots. Chris in Belvedere, California says, just add unicorn tears. I'm trying to remember our last reference to unicorns. I just remember that the unicorns weren't doing well in that story. All I remember is unicorns in danger. That's why they're crying. Stephen in East Greenwich, Rhode Island says, a volcanic eruption of flavors, rich, medicinal, earthy, the taste of a campfire at the end of the night. If I have to say the word campfire one more time, I'm going to jump out that window. This is the Hulk. Big, green, and intimidating. And there is nothing better than slaying the beast, says Aaron in Chicago, Illinois. Don't slay the Hulk. He's a regular man trying to get the cure to the gamma rays that he took. He's a regular guy. Just don't get him angry, but don't slay him. Ilya in New York says, Pete, you'll know it when you drink it. That's probably true. Dewy drops fallen from grisly mouths fighting over a dirty, peaty placenta from a just-birthed Sasquatch. Laphroaig. That's one I don't recommend that they put on the bottle. That's not going to move a lot of product. That was EJ in Omaha, Nebraska, inviting us to imagine the placenta from a freshly birthed Sasquatch. Thanks, EJ. My wife never drank whiskey until now. I owe you a life debt. Hashtag Pete for President. P-E-A-T, of course. That's Glendon in Livermore, California. Glendon, you're welcome for getting your wife drinking whiskey. No problem. This is Thomas in Seekonk, Massachusetts, who says, looks beautiful in a glass. The aroma is astonishing. Every sip is without equal. And I hide it from all, except my closest friends. Well, Thomas, there can't be that many Thomases in Seekonk, Massachusetts, so now everybody there knows you're hiding a bottle of Laphroaig. Smooth move. All right, Mr. President, let's face it. We've probably heard enough of these at this time. I think just about ready to wrap it up. We've learned a lot. We've heard the word iodine 17 times, and we've had 7 references to Band-Aids. We've heard a lot about dragons. I'll never forget the cartoon whale or the bagpiper wrapped in bacon. Those are memories I'll carry with me forever. And with that, Mr. President, America has shared its opinions of this most enigmatic of Scotch whiskeys. Over these past hours, I have given a voice to every conceivable view, unwavering love, visceral disgust, and just plain bafflement. And yet the debate will continue. The essence of Laphroaig remains about as clear as the peat bogs that it comes from. And so, I yield. Thank you.